The broadcast is live.
All right, guys, this is bit of a we're live. This is bit of a milestone for us. I didn't count the ep. We should have done it last week. I didn't count the episode you guys did on your channel that time. But
Right.
anyway,
That was an addendum.
at least on this channel, this is the 20th episode, guys, of Cavern of Chaos.
Wow.
Who knew it would last this long? Almost half a year. And on my channel, that's a milestone because I never finish anything. I still got I almost started up those planetary reviews again, and I found out it's been 4 years since I've done number 15.
Isn't that amazing when you look at? I was just like I said, I have a blog where I write every week on radiantcomics.com, and I can remember for one of my blogs, I read like all the issues of Savage Dragon. That's when I wrote about it and whatever. I gave him a little review or appreciation. And I was just looking at that, and it was like, that was back in 2010.
Yeah.
There's like 120 other issues since then. That's a whole comics that, these days, like that was 10 years ago I did that. That's
what we call a decade.
Yeah. It's like, how did that happen?
I know.
It happens, man.
I know. So we have Scott, we have Jared, we have Paulo Costa,
the one and only,
the silent one who waits. You're like there's these beach blanket bingo movies in the 60s, and in one of them there was like this one hippie who would just lay down, and through the whole movie everybody would just do stuff around him, and then he would rise up and say something like masterful. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I was thinking about that when I was driving, man. I was like, yeah.
So, Tim, does that make you a Nit Funicello?
If I knew anybody's name in those movies, I haven't watched them since I was 10, I would argue with you, but hell, I'll be a Nit. I don't care. Okay. That's the only one anybody remembers anyway,
I just wondered.
I should really put my last name in my name tag since my YouTube channel is under it, but I have no idea where that setting is now. After 20 shows, I haven't looked. So maybe for episode 21.
Oh, you can change your name every time.
I know, but where's that setting?
Should be on your.
When you first log in, it gives you the option to pick your username.
Yeah, see that when you first log in, that was way. That was 13 minutes ago. That time has passed. Now
next time I'm going to be Art Vandelay.
Art Vandelay.
Gotcha.
I'll be Mr. Pennypacker.
Regina Phalange.
And we could
after some of the things we were discussing earlier, your name could have been Art Vandalism.
Well, I want to have that moment with Paulo where everybody looks at us and we do that stare that makes everybody nervous at each other. And I'm like, Vandelay. He looks at me and he's like, Pennypacker.
Now you're thinking of the captain from How I Met Your Mother.
I've watched 2 episodes of that show ever.
Killer.
That's 2 more than I've watched. So.
Oh, that's hilarious, man. We're having fun. Well,
our daddy takes our T-bird away.
Yes. Well, I'm going to jump in front of Jared for a change.
All righty.
What comics you got? I only got 2. I went to Books A Million, but there may be more tomorrow because there's a vintage Salem show. I think it's their 22nd year. They're doing it. But everybody's been talking about Immortal Hulk, and I read online the issues with Zimnu the Titan, my favorite comic book monster, sci-fi. Okay, the original Hulk. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't impressed. I'm not saying it was bad, but I think it was hyped up. So I think this was $2. This is Hulk 6. This is the Immortal Hulk 16 through 20. Look how thin that is. I'm like, they are milking this series, and they're doing like 3 and 4 issue trades. If I'm following this right, I could be wrong.
Hey, but for $2, no wonder business isn't great.
I'm just saying. But I mean, I don't know if it'll show up. But the Alex Ross covers, that's the best thing going at Marvel today. Rick Jones in a cemetery with the Hulk face in a moon. I mean,
I read some of the earlier issues of Immortal Hulk, and they were okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's super hyped up, and I'm just I think I read a couple issues somewhere along the line besides the Zoo.
Yeah.
I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying.
No, it's okay. I mean, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was a solid comic.
And there for a while, Jim Starlin was putting out these hardback books of Thanos stories. I'm assuming they tied in,
But one of those was the reason he quit Marvel.
Right. Yeah. The writer of a Thanos, I don't know if it was a series or miniseries
or something,
coincidentally came up with the same plot.
Right.
Yeah.
And they deferred to the other writer and not Starlin. And he went, all right, I'm out of here.
I want to say it's that Danny Cates.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I think it was before he was a star. Wasn't it Alan Davis? Was Alan Davis doing a Thanos project?
Well, this is it.
No idea.
This is Jim Starlin writing with Alan Davis art.
Okay, so that wasn't the one.
I don't know. That's what I'm getting ready to say. Who knows with them, right? And anyway, but I got this one because it's Alan Davis. I got the Thanos Infinity or something, the other hardback. It was good, but Jim Starlin's done better. Don't get me wrong. But this one I had to get because it's the Infinity siblings with Star Fox, Eros, the same name as the god of love. And I kind of dug Star Fox, back in the day. But what I really like is the fact that I have a book now where Thanos still looks like he's from the 70s. Star Fox still looks like he's in the 80s. And it's Alan Davis. I'm like, I mean, there's going to be some nostalgic feels here, I'm sure. I haven't even unwrapped it yet. And this was $6 at Books A Million. I think this was originally $25 hardback.
That's nuts.
Right. Yeah, original work though, but there you go. So that's it. I haven't read these yet. I'm sure there's other things floating around here, but
let's see what I got. I got 4 comics this week. We picked up Adler #3. This, I think, is the first post-COVID issue, I think. There hasn't been an issue in a while. By Titan Comics. And this is, I'm not sure if you're familiar. This is one of those comics I enjoy it, but I wonder why it exists.
Yeah.
Because it's based on Irene Adler, who is the one woman in the Sherlock Holmes canon. Gotcha. She was in A Scandal in Bohemia. She was in one story. And she's the only prominent woman in all of the Sherlock Holmes stories, basically.
Are there airships I see on the cover there?
Yep, we got airships. So it's kind of like the female League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because we've got Irene Adler, Lady Havisham, I'm not sure who she is, Jane Eyre, Annie, as in Little Orphan Annie, Aisha, Queen of the Amazons, she might be like that, and Carmilla, who's like a vampire. That's our cast of characters. But it's like, is Irene Adler a big enough name to carry a book that you'd call it Adler? I mean, who knows who Adler is besides me and a few other people?
Well, she's in public
like the artwork.
Yeah.
The artwork is kind of a cross between Richard Corbin and manga.
That's an interesting combination.
It's got all these really round figures with big eyes. The earlier issues were even more so. So
I agree with you. The title doesn't really doesn't make me stand up and take notice. But how
many people actually know who Irene Adler is?
Right.
Not that many. Despite that, if you do since the 70s, if you do a modern take on Sherlock Holmes, Irene Adler is in there somewhere. Because
I was getting ready to ask Sherlock, the Cumberbatch series.
Yeah.
I remember there was a episode where he had the female antagonist, and the lady said, "Are you going to meet with Sherlock?" And she was like, "Yeah." And the other lady was like, "What are you going to wear?" She's like, "My armor." And when he walked in, she was sitting there naked, talking to him. And I wonder if that's Adler.
That was Irene Adler, and they did a terrible version of her.
I know. Yeah.
Because what it was with Irene Adler, Sherlock Holmes always called her the woman because she outsmarted him in the story Scandal in Bohemia. The Scandal Bohemia story is Irene Adler is actually, she's an American. She's from New Jersey. And the story went, it was a scandal in Bohemia because I think it was the king of Bohemia came in a mask because he didn't want Sherlock to know who he was. Of course, he knew who he was. Wanted Sherlock to get back some photos because Irene Adler was this sort of bon vivant. She was born and raised in New Jersey, moved to Europe, and was a bon vivant in Europe. She was exceptionally smart, exceptionally educated, exceptionally talented, and she was an actress. And she the circles she moved into Europe were all royalty. So that she knew, and she had affairs with princes of Europe and stuff. And and these were the days where she was actually had an affair with the Prince of Bohemia, who was then getting married. And he took a photo with Irene Adler. And it was the days that if this photo got out, there'd be a scandal in Bohemia, hence the title, and he'd, lose his princeship. So, but meanwhile, Irene Adler had fallen in love and was moving back to America, but she kept the photo kind of as leverage so that the King of Bohemia didn't come after her to try to ruin her.
Yeah, if this was took place in France, there'd been no plot, there'd been no story, But anyway.
Yeah, Bohemia was a province of Germany. So basically, and the story was the King of Bohemia there hired Sherlock to get the picture back. And eventually, so Sherlock goes through all this stuff to trick her into revealing the hiding place of the picture. But she realized she revealed the hiding place. So when Sherlock came back to get the picture with the king, she had fled already. And he was so impressed that she outsmarted him. She was just like, because he never got outsmarted in any of his stories. And that was the one story she was in, Irene Adler. And she eventually moved back to New Jersey and was like, don't tell the king not to worry. I'm destroying the picture. I just kept it so I could get the hell out of here. And she left a picture of herself back for the king. And Sherlock Holmes took that. He was like, he didn't even want any payment. He's just like, I just want her picture. And he took her picture and he kept it on his mantelpiece for the rest of his career. So that's why Irene Adler is in all the Sherlock stuff since modern time. But it's like they just in particularly in Sherlock, they just made it was just terrible. They made her a dominatrix.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It was just like, what?
There's this insistence that Sherlock Holmes must have sex, even though he has none in the original stories.
Right.
I think it's understood that Holmes is completely devoid of sexual desire.
Right.
See,
that's why he's taking cocaine.
See, this is one of the reasons I love YouTube. I think I have a comment here that says exactly how we feel about her treatment.
Over intrigue is afoot.
It's interesting that you mentioned League of Extraordinary Gentlemen earlier in conjunction with Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
There was a novel that's written by Manly Wade Wellman, the same author that wrote all the Silver John stories, that has Sherlock Holmes within the context of War of the Worlds story.
Ah.
And I've always wanted to read that, but I've never got around to reading it yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of and Sherlock's. I mean, the original. If you think comic book fans are obsessed,
oh, they are. And he's also
the annotated Sherlock Holmes. Holy cow!
There have been more movies made about Sherlock Holmes than any other fictional character.
Well, the annotated Sherlock Holmes takes all the stories, and then the side gives you annotations of when those things took place, where they took place in the real world, and this and that.
I want to insert a trivia question here.
Yeah.
All right. Who's the only actor? Who's the only actor to play both? Oh my gosh, Sherlock Holmes and his brother. One actor played them both.
Mycroft. I don't know.
I had the question in my head with his name, and when it started coming out of my mouth, I went blank on Mycroft. I'm like, not
was it Jeremy Brett?
No.
Well, I have no idea then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Basil Rathbone?
Who? Nope. But Basil Rathbone is my favorite Sherlock. I mean, everybody's done great jobs, Jeremy and all of them, but
Jeremy Brett is my favorite Sherlock.
Yeah, he's my favorite. But Jeremy, fantastic job, man. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. Oh,
interesting.
Okay. Good one.
Yeah, and there's a Sherlock Holmes' little sister movie coming to Netflix, starring Bobby. What's her name? Bobby Brown, the Stranger Things kid.
Oh yeah, I'm out. Yeah.
Well, don't they? I'm not sure if they mention it in the story or if it's an addition made afterwards. But doesn't he have a sister called Violet?
I don't think so. The only one I remember from the story is Mycroft. I think he was the only one who was.
There is some interesting
because the Wold Newtonians, when they do those.
I got you.
Yeah, you just got Tim's interest.
When they come up with those silly family trees that they say
silly?
that.
Dude, there's gonna be some people coming after you here.
They say that Violet is Nayland Smith's mother.
Okay. Yeah, she may have been added by someone else, but I don't remember a sister for him.
Yeah, and then Nero Wolfe may have been or may not have been, I think, the son of Sherlock Holmes, because they even play with the amount of syllables in his name.
Yeah.
But I'll digress. I can talk about Sherlock Holmes.
And I have the unofficial crossover between Sherlock Holmes and Arsène Lupin. Well, they had to rename it. First, they were going to, in France, they were going to make a real crossover. Then some lawyers sent a cease and desist letter in the 19th century. So they had to change the name to Herlock Sholmes. And all the typical descriptions of the character are backwards. So instead of saying he's lean, he's fat.
So he's bizarro Sherlock Holmes.
Or as Sherlock Holmes' older brother says, sheer luck. Anyway, but yeah.
We'll stay in England for another story, Once in Future, which is our King Arthur story. And in this one, last issue, like this is the one where King Arthur is back and resurrected and wants to save England. Except everybody who lives in English now isn't a Briton from 463 or whatever. So they're all foreigners to King Arthur. And last issue, they brought back Beowulf to try and kill. And also the lead characters are a monster hunter who's a grandmother and her grandson, who knew nothing about monster hunting till right now. And in this issue, Grendel is back and killing the grandmother. Like lives in an old age home, but still has to go out and hunt monsters every now and then. She hasn't had to hunt monsters in 20 years since they did something spectacular 20 years ago. But now the monsters are coming back. King Arthur and Merlin being two of them, and it ends with I just like the end. It ends with like Grendel coming to her nursing home. They sent him at a nursing home and killing a bunch of people in the nursing home. And she's like, "Hold on, how do we kill Grendel?" And one of the nursing home guys is like, "Beowulf tore his arms off," and they had just killed Beowulf the issue before. And she's like, "Oh crap!" But it's been a fun story. It's by Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora. So
they just announced another book by Kieran Gillen coming out in a couple months in October. I can't remember what it was.
I'm still waiting for him to finish up Uber, which is my favorite of his. So we'll see. That one's been really good. He's got one more story arc in it, and I don't know if you've read Uber at all, but it's terrific. It's at the end of World War II. Superheroes are invented, basically. So now the war is extended because the Germans discovered how to make superheroes, and the British snuck it out of the. So now it's like there's all this sort of real world politic and superheroes going on.
It's a thinly veiled retelling of the rocket science when we took the Nazi scientists over here to America.
Operation
Except the war's still going on. Then let's see, what else did I get? Savage Dragon 51 is out. Always good, Savage Dragon. It's just a solid comic made by a guy who likes making comics.
I do get a kick. You are the only one I know that gets Savage Dragon, and you love it.
Sleepy Reader gets it now too, and so does Gore Vidal. So I got both of them to get Savage Dragon.
He's casting the net.
He's patient zero.
Because Savage Dragon isn't actually in his own book anymore. He died, I think. So it's been, for the last few years, it's been his son. Because this book also takes place in real time. So, 27 years have passed since issue 1. But the Savage Dragon, issue 250, his anniversary issues are basically a regular issue of the Savage Dragon, and then 80 pages of stuff that other people do.
Like 100-page giant. I've seen him do that theme.
Giant, right. And one of the things he did with 250 was he colored and reprinted the first Graphic Dragon issue or miniseries or something. I think it was only 2 issues, if that. I don't know how many pages it was. From Graphic Fantasy or something that had the
talking about pre-image
stuff that he did in the 80s,
1983.
He was before he was a pro.
That sounds very similar to what Mike Allred used to do with Madman.
Right.
Yeah.
And that Savage Dragon showed up at the beginning, at the end of last issue and in this book.
Did he have fin envy? Did he have fin?
He doesn't have the big fin. He's got a little ridge on the top of his head. Yeah, and so he showed up. It was he's like, well, I'm not really your dad, but I wanted to talk to you, especially since one of the interesting things about Savage Dragon since the beginning was, like I said, since he can control his own continuity, he does. And the world, I think the Savage Dragon world ended at least twice.
Yeah,
where
the Savage Land and I think it was all before the first 100 issues were up that they ended.
There may have been another one after the first 100, but the first one was like the Savage. You read the Savage, where he basically turned it into Commandy for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's what brought me on again.
Right,
and I haven't been back since. It was awesome.
So it's like there was a Savage Dragon world. It actually got destroyed. It got turned into sort of Commandy, and then he eventually found his way to an alternate world, which was very much like his own, so he just stayed there. Then I think that world was destroyed too, and he was in a destroyed world for a while. Then he found another world. So he was not actually the Savage Dragon from his own world. His world was gone.
Yeah.
And then they had, just a few years ago, all the multiverses got crashed into one. So all of a sudden, so now in the Savage Dragon world, there's only one. There's no multiverse anymore. There's only one universe world, but everybody had the memories from everybody in the multiverse. So, like, for the first year, everybody was just so messed up. Meanwhile, this Savage Dragon should have gotten merged with all the other Savage Dragons, except he was trapped in the negative zone, because he's got his own version of the negative zone here. And he'd finally made his way out. So he's got all the memories of the other Savage Dragon, but he's not them. So it's kind of interesting what he does with his continuity.
See, what was, to me, what was cool about the Savage Dragon, at least for the first 100 issues off and on, I still have my everything I got from the first miniseries around the 30s where he had Hellboy, God versus Devil. I checked it out here and there, that Savage world. But what he does is he takes things that I think he loved from comics and sci-fi movies when he was little, but he doesn't rip anybody off. He does a complete spin and makes it his own. A lot of people don't remember, and I may be corrected because I'm doing it off the top of my head, but Doctor Strange, the Marvel Universe has been destroyed a couple times, and Doctor Strange brought it back a few times. And when he did that with Savage Dragon, I'm like, oh, you're going way back there, Eric. I'm on to you,
Yeah, and with him going to parallel Earths and finding versions of everybody he knows, it's like the Doctor Who, where there's always a Rose Tyler in the Mickey.
Yep. Exactly. Yes.
And I do have all the Savage Dragon issues, but I didn't start reading it until the Commandy issues, because my friend Chris Geruso, who I was working with in the Marvel bullpen at the time, he's the guy who does G-Man and who did mini Marvels for years too. He was a big Savage Dragon fan. He was a big Savage Dragon fan from issue 1, but I really wasn't a fan of most of that Image stuff. And I read a little of the early Savage Dragons and didn't really get into it. But then finally one day around issue 70, I was like, and Chris had been like, it's been 5 years now. And Chris had been, it had been his favorite book. Finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put the Savage Dragon on my poll list and read it for a while to see if I can get into it. Because it's like it was Chris's favorite book. I'm like, there has to be something redeeming about it. So that, and luckily I started picking it up right when he started wearing his Jack Kirby influences on his sleeve. So I ended up really liking it then, and it's been on my pull list ever since. And I went back and got the first 70 issues. They were dirt cheap too. So
there's some Kirby crackle there.
Yeah, I mean, this if there's ever a Savage Dragon arc I was throw at anybody, it'd be this. I mean, he even he doesn't hide anything. This is completely. I want to do a Commandy world.
Yeah. He switched from the Image Comics pinup style page layout storytelling to the Jack Kirby panel.
Yeah, I mean, he followed the pattern of the Kirby comic of the Commandy comics, splash page, double splash page chapters. But what I liked is that he did like this Alice in Wonderland thing for a panel with the actual Commandy. Savage Dragon's looking around, and you kept seeing this blonde-haired kid with blue boots running around a corner. So he chased him for a minute, went deeper into the Savage world. I mean, I'll give Larson credit, man. He does some little things that if you're not thinking, you're going to miss. That's really clever.
He's a hardcore comics fan. He throws stuff in there. Yeah, he does. But it's all, especially in recent years, a lot of sexual situations in Savage Dragon. Nudity and sexual situations. So I know that puts some people off, but I'm okay with it.
It's that he does it creepy. I mean, you don't have to be tasteful or anything. But what does it comes off creepy.
He makes it that. There's no. I mean, I'm okay with it. He makes it that way. I mean, that's on purpose.
What was it? Dart, Savage Dragon. The kids, his son's mother. I think she was Dart. That was just straight up. Hey, we're dating, and she's good in bed. And then as he went along, it just kind of got creepy, man. I was like,
there was nothing creepier than reading Gen 13.
Never read it.
I don't know if you read any Gen 13 back in the 90s. But it was kind of like they were all 16-year-olds in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of aimed at 16-year-olds. But there was a lot of sexual situations going on involving the 16-year-olds. But it was all written and drawn by, 30-year-olds. So I remember reading it going, I just shouldn't be reading this book. It is creeping me out. And it wasn't, I imagine if you were a 16-year-old reading it, everything's fine.
Oh, I get you. I know what you're saying. It's right. You got to listen to your own voice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you're getting a weird feeling, put it down. I'm with you. I mean, I know what you're saying. But I'm also one of those people that, I have my kids, my first kid's in his 20s and stuff like that. And not to be a grown up here and get all serious for a minute, man. But as long as it's handled well, I think one of the worst things you can do is act like your kids are never going to have sex. You know what I mean? So I think it's on how it handles, but I know exactly what you're saying. Like you're reading something and you're just like, I don't think so. I
didn't really need to be reading something by grown people that's supposed to be titillating to 16-year-olds.
Yeah. See, at least Marv Wolfman made the Teen Titans 18, before he put them in bed,
The 18 Titans.
And then the last issue I got. Hello, Pope Cerebus the First. How are you doing? One of the only other Cerebus fans I see. I don't even know if he's still getting. I saw him get some of the Cerebus and Hell issues, but I don't know if he got. I haven't seen one in a while. I picked up Shadow Service from Vault Comics, and so I just couldn't leave with just 3 comics. I wanted a 4th comic, so I was looking for one to pick up. And I had no idea what this was about, and it's kind of about barely legal Titans.
So you did get Gen 13,
a PI witch kind of thing, and I was kind of iffy on it until the ending. I liked the ending on it, so I might pick up the 2nd issue. We'll have to see. It's one of the I've picked up so many first issues in the past 2 months that I'm iffy on all of them. So it's kind of like Big Girls, the one I got last week by Jason Howard, I put on my pull list, and I was iffy on that one, but that was really because I like Trees by Jason Howard. That was kind of like, I figured I can trust him to pull. So a lot of it is just like, I know no one who does this comic book. It's by Cavern, Scott, Corin, Howell. So it's kind of like when it's kind of in the middle, and I don't know any. It's like I don't know if I trust them to pull it off. So it's kind of like I've been buying a lot of first issues and no second issues, not because the comics are bad, but just because I don't know the people involved, and I don't necessarily trust them to pull off the series.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like you're. I don't know. It's kind of like it's almost like you've come over to the rest of us, Jared. You finally made your way over here.
Except I'm still buying comics, unlike the rest of you who are buying $2 trades at odd lot stores.
Look, if it's a stripper, just because she's dancing, don't mean I'm gonna give her $1. Earn it.
I've seen the way Tim works. He's going to be giving her a dime instead of $1.
Maybe I'll warm it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew we were going to go there. As soon as you said Cerebus, I knew he was going to go here. But Bleeding Cool keeps doing these passive aggressive hit pieces on Dave Sim, and they're taking the bait. Dave Sim is putting it out there to get noticed, to make the news, and Bleeding Cool falls for it every time.
I don't even think Dave Sim's trying to make the news anymore. He's just Dave Sim. Yeah, the one Cerebus in Hell I'm missing is the Agent of Codpiece one, because my comic shop never got it in because they just never got it from Diamond and they wouldn't let them reorder it. So, but being that I never look for back issues, I'll probably never find it and be okay with it, because there's really no continuity in Cerebus in Hell. So
it's going to fall in your lap at some
someday.
way. You're going to be driving around your bike, and it's actually going to run over it. But wait a minute. But I want to go back to Sherlock Holmes here for a minute, man. I got two movies, two of the most underrated Sherlock Holmes or the Sherlock Holmes inspired movies. Okay. Sherlock Holmes' older, smarter brother.
Yes, that's a good one.
Right. And I'm one of those people. I loved it, and then I hated it. Then I came back around, and now it's I say it's sort of mediocre, but it was some clever stuff they did. It was young Sherlock Holmes.
Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the first movies I ever saw in the movie theaters when I was a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes' smarter brother.
I'm of the opinion that Marty Feldman can improve any movie.
I about fell down when I found out Marty Feldman's ties to Monty Python. I was like, knocked with a feather when I found out all that stuff.
Have you ever read Sergio's autobiographical story where you thought he may have killed Marty Feldman?
I didn't. Actually, I think you told me about it.
It's really funny. Yeah. It's quite amusing.
Yeah.
Sergio met Marty the day before he died.
And then
Pope Cerebus is a good Dave Sim comment here.
Which one? The one he just posted?
Yeah, he doesn't think he's trying to get attention. Dave could be doing so much more, but he feels attacked and he shrinks of standing up to it all. Yeah. And he's a technophobe. He purposefully stays off the internet and email and everything else. So it's kind of like, and I think he just turned into a religious nut too. So,
well,
he's nuts in a couple of different categories.
Yeah, he started out as atheist, and then he started doing some research in religion for Cerebus, right. And he just started melding and getting these images of or whatever. He made his own religion, but supposedly he does have a mental illness. So
I don't know, but he made his own religion. So,
well, they all started somewhere. Come on, man.
Yeah,
you know. It's not taken up for him. I'm just saying they all had to start.
Yeah, I know. He wanted to be L. Ron Hubbard.
No, I don't think he didn't want to be L. Ron Hubbard. He just took the things he liked out of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and made it his own. So he's got his own viewpoint on the world, and he's based on that now. And I would say he's a born again horn dog.
I caught that.
A born again what?
A born again horn dog. In that, you know how they say that.
Okay.
He's been celibate for like 30 years or something. I don't know.
That's what I mean. Do you know how they say people who used to smoke make the most annoying anti-smokers?
Yeah.
He used to be a horn dog.
Yeah.
And then he found God. So he became sort of the most anti-horn dog guy out there. So he became he flipped completely from what he used to be, and
he's embraced Jerry Falwell Jr.
Yeah, he embraced it with the same, passion that he used to embrace women with. So.
Yeah, I remember an interview. I don't remember where I read it, but I remember an interview, and one of the phrases that stuck out was, "If you learn to leave your dick alone, your dick will learn to leave you alone."
Yes.
Yeah, as you climb the walls. But anyway,
stuff like that.
Right.
My thing is like, I try not to like pull in my job into this stuff because I never met the guy. I never sit down and talk to him. Don't get me wrong, but going with what I've seen, I don't know if you remember in the 70s and 80s where you started hearing the term Jesus freak and you'd see these weird, wild-eyed people and stuff. Right. What happens is that addiction never goes away. You just replace it with something, and they become really. They're as much into it as they were in their addiction. It's just a transference of the addiction. I'm kind of wondering if old Sim had a sex addiction, drug addiction, whatever, and that's what happened.
What there's a line in Cheech and Chong, one of their albums, that says,
I'm so digging tonight. I'm telling you.
I used to be messed up on drugs, and now I'm messed up on the Lord. That's exactly what you were saying.
And the first time I saw the Jesus Freaks, I was really like 5 or 6 years old, late 70s, around a photo hut.
One of my opinions on Dave Sim is when he was getting to be infamous about his misogynistic rants. When you get Jeff Smith so riled up that he wants to punch you in the face, you've really done something.
Yeah, I don't know Jeff Smith, so that reference passed me by. Not personally.
Well, Jeff is like the most, mild-mannered, nicest guy in the world, kind of like Stan Sakai in that regard.
Okay.
He said he got Jeff so pissed off that he said in an interview that he just wanted to punch him. I'm like,
well, that's right.
Really?
Those two were going to have like a boxing match or something at some point.
Yeah.
Now I remember.
I think the boxing match, was
with someone else.
Oh, it was Todd McFarlane, and was it Peter David?
No, I think it
was somebody.
That was them also, but Dave Sims supposedly was going to get to a boxing match with somebody.
Oh,
yeah, I think it was Jeff Smith, if I remember correctly.
I don't know.
Now
that was a long time ago.
I'm one of the people. I read the original misogynistic journal or whatever essay that Dave Sim did
Right.
that he read, and I totally get why it pissed people off. But when I read it, it's like I was just seeing a man's observations and opinions. No, by no means have I taken it for Dave, but it wouldn't have riled me up, until I heard how other people were riled up, and they kind of attached some stuff to it. I mean, I never went back to read it again because I'm like, oh no, I'm not getting into that. But yeah,
that's you're touching the third rail, and I read it. I read it months after, or maybe even years after, all the controversy, and he said some stuff in there I didn't agree with, but I didn't think it was nearly as inflammatory as people made it out to be.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Right. To me, it was to me the third rail was, you're allowed to talk about and criticize male gender roles in our society, but if you talk about and criticize female gender roles, there's a good chance you're going to get in trouble. And he got in trouble.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it there might have been some venom in it or something where he was going through the divorce and still having to work with his ex-wife.
It was obviously that he's bitter. There was a lot of bitterness in it. Some of it was genuine observation that I can get behind, and some of it was Dave. Yeah, you're bitter. I can just remember there was stuff like when he'd start talking about marriage. And he'd make leaps in logic that were not logical. I can especially remember one that sticks out to me because I like logic, where he had said something about a marriage is like a car. You have to have one person drive it. I'm like, well, who says it's like a car? You just said it's like a car because you believe first that one person needs to drive it. So therefore you went out and found something that only one person could drive. You could say marriage is like the nuclear codes where two people have to turn the keys. I mean, it's like it's stuff like that.
Everything blows up.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that if you read Cerebus and you see what Jaka means to the story, and when he actually writes, draws, and has Jaka in the story, she's the anchor, most normal person in the entire book, and she's female. So I think that might have been like what balanced it in my head is that he didn't, the way he wrote her didn't seem disrespectful. If anything, she was sort of elevated a little bit,
Right. There was no one in there who was really a hero in Cerebus. I mean, it was everybody was human. So it was kind of like, it wasn't a superhero story. It was like everybody was nuts, kind of. It wasn't about how sane and rational the world is. So there weren't many sane and rational characters. Matter of fact, I'm trying to think of one, and I can't. I mean, if you're going for sane and rational, you don't go with the Rolling Stones.
I was getting ready to say I wanted more Keith and Mick.
It would be funny if Keith showed up later after all the other characters were dead.
He posted a picture today. Keith Richards posted a picture today just to say he's checking in with the world, and the MFer looks 10 years younger. I don't know how he did it. He still looks, he still looks old, but he's 10 years younger than the picture I saw for my buddy who went and saw him in concert last year. I'm like, how's he do this?
Do you remember there used to be a website that basically says, is Abe Vigoda still alive?
Oh, yeah.
No. Now, on my Facebook.
What I'm getting at is they just replace Abe Vigoda's now with Keith Richards' name. Keith still alive? Yep.
Yeah. Now, Abe Vigoda, I used to do every time a celebrity died or anytime there was a rumor on Facebook, I would do an update saying he's still alive. And then I started finding people who were making these memes of how Abe Vigoda is older than this, and this. Historical references. I'm going to throw something out here to Pope. Yeah, this is where I'm at in my read through on Cerebus. I'm right here where Cerebus is trying to get home to see his parents, and Jaka's kind of doing her thing. So yeah,
she became vapid and complacent, if I remember, because that's what her choices caught up with her.
Yeah,
she would take. I mean, she would take the safe way out. A lot of time. If I remember correct, I haven't read it in a while.
The Path of Least Resistance, and
Yes.
That's what I mean. Jock is such a complicated character. It's not complicated. She can actually, to me, she feels so real sometimes. You're not going to figure it out because you can't get in her head. But I could tell you if she was going to do this or that if given a choice, just from what I read on her. That's why I like the book. I mean, she feels like a living, breathing character, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? If you have a chance to read Keith's book, I want to get Ronnie Wood's book. He reads from it a lot, but I didn't know Keith had a book. So
Keith is actually a major book collector.
I'm not surprised. Ron Wood is an actual artist, and the Rolling Stones is just how he pays the bills. His real job in his mind that I've heard is that he's an artist, and he does these fantastic, huge, like old portraits of rocks of his Rolling Stones, and he gives them away. And
same thing with John Cougar these days. He's really turned hard. He doesn't have much
of a job to pay the bills. Yeah. It's a hell of a job to pay the bills. We should all have such a job to pay the bills. Being in the
I've always liked Ronnie Wood. For some reason, I've just been drawn to the guy, and then, then to find out about the Small Faces and all his blues, Chicago blues stuff and everything, him and Jeff Beck, I've always been like, what a great guy. What a charmed life.
A charmed life.
He used to look at Rod Stewart, supposedly was so shy, he didn't want to come all the way out on stage. So Ron would be sitting there playing guitar going, come on, Rod, it's okay. Come on.
Steven Tyler never had that problem.
Cocaine.
I actually bought a manga that should be coming in the mail tomorrow. Going home.
Yeah. I'm going to turn my.
I actually bought a manga for the first time in a long time.
I was trying to show my shelf. That's all the service stuff up there on the top, and I got a long box. I got a long box with. Somehow I've gotten or close to over 200 copies. I think I have 252 issues of the original Cerebus.
I probably have about 200, I think.
I
haven't looked in a while.
But I only have 40 issues of the original Gru. I'm like, how did that happen?
I have them all.
I have a bunch of them. They're somewhere.
Those last two were hard to track down.
Track down? You didn't have it on your pull list? You guys without pull lists. I don't know what's up with you.
Well, the last time that, when the epic version of Gru came out was, 30-some years ago? So
yeah, I had it on my pull list. I bought the very first appearance of Gru, and it was on my pull list for 20 years.
Yeah, those last two had a lower print run. So.
See, that's the show we need to do where we dedicate how we bought our comics when we were little, because, some people had comic book shops, all bourgeois up there, And then some of us had to run around town on foot, jumping off buses, fighting bullies to get to the spinner racks.
Uphill in the snow both ways.
Yes. I actually went through a marsh. I had the video where I went through the marsh and I lost books, and the only one that survived was Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Some of us had to buy comics from the newsstand, like Savages.
Savages, exactly. Yeah.
Jared and his big Simpsons bit. It's that Simpsons bit about Whacking Day. Oh, Whacking Day was really invented to beat up on Irish. But it was all in good fun.
That's funny episode
right now, fighting off the bullies. It was all in good fun. Yes, I made it to the comic.
What's going to happen? One of these days, somebody's going to make a documentary about Tim's life. And it's going to start off with the exact same dialogue that it has in the movie The Jerk, but instead of being a sharecropper, he's going to be a comic book collector.
I'm going to take my Watchmen. I'm going to take my Savage Dragon.
It's going to be word for word exact. He's going to replace the word sharecropper.
Yeah. That's awesome. Everybody give a yell to Cammie here. Cammie's been around forever. You can see her popping up, doing her artwork on Instagram or Facebook or wherever I'm seeing it.
Whichever feed it's in.
What we got here?
Oh, Gru.
Six hardcover custom.
Ooh, look at that.
You said the magic word. You said hardcover.
These are custom hardcovers. This man paid for them
they
himself.
Yeah.
That's love. That is Gru love there. Yeah.
Speaking of, Sergio just interviewed Mark Evanier last
I
night.
saw something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting to watch. Mark is Mark's had his fingers in so many different projects. It's scary.
I have all this stuff. Yeah, he was in comics, and then in the '80s he went out to Hollywood, and he's been writing for Hollywood ever since.
Oh yeah, he's wrote a lot of TV.
Yeah. And he still dabbles in comics every now and then.
Yes.
But the manga I picked up, I've already forgotten the name since I went and looked at it. Hold on. All You Need Is Kill. You would have never heard of it. I didn't know it existed.
That title sounds familiar. It's like I've heard it somewhere before.
I had the same reaction, but I know I haven't heard of this book.
Is that the book that oh gosh, there was a movie that came out in the past.
Can Scott get it?
6 years ago that Tom Cruise was in. It's a science fiction movie. Yeah, that's the movie that was based on, wasn't it?
I saw The Edge of Tomorrow for the first time this week. I'd never seen it before.
Okay.
And it was pretty good. It's a time loop sci-fi action movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to mention it on Facebook, and one of my Facebook friends says the graphic novel is even better. The manga is even better. And I was like, I didn't even know it was a manga. And I went and looked it up. And first, it was a young adult novel in Japan. Right. And then it was a manga, and then it was a movie. So I look forward to getting it and reading it. Cool. But it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. Like I said, a time loop movie where Tom Cruise has to learn to fight aliens in France, being a soldier and caught in a time loop.
Gotcha.
So good stuff if you've never seen the movie.
But somewhere in the back of my brain, that title kicked in. It's like, oh yeah, that's.
Yeah, I don't know how you got that. You got it though.
I was going to grab my DVD and see if the title was on the case, because that's the only way I would even heard of that title where it rung a bell.
The young adult book has a different title, which is in the movie title sometimes, which is something like "Wake, Kill, or Fight, Die, Repeat." I think.
Yeah, it's actually on the DVD thing that I was trying to find, but I can't.
That's the original YA novel title.
That reminds me, there's a graphic novel adaptation of the Forever War by was it Joe Haldeman, if I'm not mistaken? It's a classic science fiction story. For some reason, it just reminded me of that. It's like, damn, I need to track that down and actually read it.
Yeah.
I gave up on science fiction after college for some reason. I started reading mostly history and nonfiction. And I only occasionally since then have dipped into a science fiction novel or novels in general. Although I did read a lot last year, but I've just been into fiction. So
it's funny. It's funny you brought that up because I've been on a history kick here lately. And somebody had a quote, it's like, it seems like all white guys after the age of 50 or so turn into World War II experts. And I think it's true. I think there's some truth to that.
My favorite history goes back even further, though. But I was a history fan as a kid. I used to take out those kid biographies they had in. I don't even know if you know these existed. They had like historical biographies for kids.
Sure.
I assume they still have them even. Yeah. But I read a lot of those when I was a kid in the 70s.
Yeah.
That's how the Marquis de Lafayette became my favorite historical figure.
If I was going to become an expert on some old war, I'd go for the Napoleonic Wars, because there was this mini series when I was a kid with Armand Assant playing Napoleon, and I loved that one. And right around the same time, my mom got me a French graphic novel with which is a retelling of the Austerlitz and the Waterloo battles.
For some reason, I've never been a fan of that period. That sort of warring states period in Europe for from I I don't know, 1500 to like the 1800s, where it was like everybody was the same royal family and they were all fighting each other every 20 years. It just always confused me.
And Napoleon arrived and changed all that. The European map between before Napoleon and after Napoleon is completely different, and all the major powers on the continent shifted.
See,
they still continued to fight each other though after he went away for a while.
Whenever I went to a friend's house and we played Risk, I always thought I was Napoleon. The same. But I love how I can watch period piece movies like Immortal Beloved, and I could probably think of 2 or 3. And even if Napoleon isn't in the movie, he still has an effect. Like Napoleon's army was attacking, and that's how like this one woman got a limp that was in love with Beethoven. And I'm like, that damn Napoleon is everywhere, you know. I'm like, so.
I'll tell you what, I remember actually what got me into history was playing Dungeons and Dragons, because that got me really interested in medieval history.
Yeah. Conan, a lot of people, there's people who thought the Hyborian Age was real with the Conan. And I'm being dead serious. And that's how they would get into history, was by reading Robert E. Howard, thinking it was real, you know.
Still, one of my favorite pieces of prose from a comic book is that introduction in Conan. Know, O Prince, that between the years, what is it, when the oceans drank Atlantis and the rise of recorded time. Always loved that. I was like, cool.
Oh, you can think that it's kind of real. It's just that it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. Brought it full circle there. I'm on to you tonight, Paulo. I'm so on to you tonight.
That was before he got folded in the mainstream Marvel universe.
Yeah.
There was a cross-gen comic that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
That I always wished was just a little more historical. It was like a B-. I wanted it to be an A. It was called Brath. Brath.
I don't know this one.
And it was in the last couple of years of CrossGen. And it was sort of a Brath was, I think he may have been like the equivalent of a Gaul. Because I don't think that it wasn't exactly historical. He was like the equivalent of a Gaul, and they had the equivalent of the Romans there too. And let me see how many issues it lasted. Hold on 1 second. It's right up here.
Well, while he's looking for that, anybody ever seen Ready Player One?
I've never seen it, but I know a little bit about it.
I'll just put it to the side then. So I'll just put that over here.
The one thing I can remember about, even though I haven't seen the movie, is like, you guys better not mess up the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
If you do, I am coming after you.
There we go. There's Brath, the prequel, with the year 2003 on it. I think it's 17 years old. Who would have expected that? But it's got 14 issues. Who's it by?
I'm going to give you a heads up about those cross-gen comics and some Marvel Knights stuff. They had some motion comics that went straight to DVD, and they had Way of the Rat and something else. There's a chance you might have that on DVD somewhere as a motion comic.
Oh, this is Chuck Dixon, Andrea DeVito, John Dell, and Rob Schwager. So it's a Chuck Dixon one.
I wonder if it's connected to Way of the Rat. Yeah.
And it was kind of cool, but it just never really tied together like I wanted it to. It was kind of, I enjoyed it. I like it. I recommend it. But if it was just a little more, it kind of lost its way halfway through, because it was like the Romans against the Gauls, with some magic thrown in there too. And then it kind of diverged, I remember, halfway through. I can't even remember what it diverged to. But it just kind of was like, oh, I just wish it was. It wasn't as boring as Iraq Son of Thunder. It wasn't boring at all, but it was just like, oh, if it could have just there's one of the Roman guys. Clearly he's Roman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really had high hopes for. There's Brath looking at a Roman village.
Yeah. I think people exaggerate on their portrayal of Romans because not everybody in Rome had access to fine silk to do their tunics.
Yeah.
And those armors were exaggerated. They only used them when they were having those apotheoses, when they marched through through the city because those things are actually too heavy and cumbersome to use in a battle.
Yeah, they had ceremonial armor they used just for certain purposes.
Let's see if we can open one random issue up and see if we can find a Roman.
See what I could tell as a kid when I was starting to become a little bit more of a sophisticated reader. There was a issue of New Mutants where they were into Brazil or the Amazon jungle and they ran across some Romans, and I'm like, they were never there. You know, I was like, I'm not buying this, Chris. Oh no.
This looks like a battle issue. It's got lots of battle stuff in it. Hold on, let me show you.
Put it back up, man.
Yeah, I will. Here we go. There's some Roman army stuff with their ceremonial armor on. But like I said, I really enjoyed this. There's the Gauls.
Have you ever read Age of Bronze?
Oh yeah, I'm a big Age of Bronze.
That's some good stuff.
That's excellent. That's
it's really good.
Here's your comment, Junior. Here's your comment.
I remember Brad Dixon said publisher Leslie always wanted to push cross-gen, but fans and the writers, yeah, exactly, because you could tell like in the middle of it, it wasn't quite. It didn't. If it embraced the historical aspect even more, it would have been better.
Yeah.
And
I think Alessio wanted to do his own Marvel universe because he was in love with the idea of the bullpen crafting this wonderful universe.
So he's been waiting for a conclusion for that story with bated breath for years.
Scott, we just got complimented by Pope Service the First.
Dun dun. Yeah, CrossGen has a lot of good books. If you want to read some good comics, dig up some old CrossGen.
See, we're going back full circle. I read Ruse.
I don't think I've ever read any of
it. Was Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. It was Sherlock Holmes the comic, even though it wasn't Sherlock.
Right. Ruse.
Yeah, it was Irene Adler.
Yeah, the Ruse was the best artwork of Butch Geiss's career.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so good. He pulled something off I have never seen anyone pull off before. Let me pull out an issue of Ruse. Hold on.
See, I think the only cross-gen book I actually have is one that was a story that was done by Mike Plug.
He did a cross-gen book?
I might be mistaken, but it has like almost an Arabic sounding name that I can't remember.
Yes,
Azerabad or something. I can't
Abadazet. Allegedly, that's the whole reason Disney bought CrossGen. They wanted that property.
Gotcha.
Abazad or something like that. It was only 2 issues. This is Butch Geiss.
Is this real?
You read it, almost everything is a double-page spread that you read across.
Yeah.
And the storytelling is flawless. I mean, I've never seen this pulled off before because I've seen...
Yeah.
On Ruse, I've seen plenty of people try to pull this off, but he actually did. There is at no point are you confused by where you should read because he manages to bleed every panel across the fold that has to bleed there, so you just keep going across. And he did the whole book like this.
Yeah, I was confused for a bit the first time I saw it.
But it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a masterwork, this one. It's just so well done. Have you ever wanted to, this is the best Butch Geiss art of his career, I think.
You think so?
Awesome. Yeah. I liked it that much.
Hey, the only other Butch Geiss stuff I remember is Micronauts.
He's been doing stuff. He did a lot of
Captain
America stuff.
Our paths haven't crossed over the years.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, his Iron Man stuff, swords of swashbucklers, and it's just he's just been so consistent. He's been so consistent his entire career. I mean,
I'm gonna have to go back and read Swords of the Swashbucklers because I have not.
That's something I've always wanted to read.
I know they did a trade paperback, but it was during the time when I no longer had money, so I couldn't buy it.
Right on.
Didn't Howard Chaykin work on that?
I don't remember.
I think
The first one was a graphic novel, right? One of the original Marvel graphic novels. And then it was like a series from Epic of like 6 issues or something.
12.
12 issues it was?
Okay.
Yeah, I've got the first 6 over here. I finally found a couple months ago. I'm going to try to track down the rest, if not just a trade of them,
Yeah.
His
I don't
artwork
know if I have all 12 issues or not. I'm going to have to look. I know I have the graphic novel in my collection.
I don't know if he did all 12 issues, guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. That might be why I don't have all 12, if he didn't draw all 12. I can't remember.
See, Marvel, these miniseries that, you got to stay for 12. I was cataloging some books, and I brought out Crystar, right? That
the Crystal Warrior.
Yeah. So I get there and I catalog, and it comes up to 11, and I'm like, I had all these, and I'm starting to get a little obsessed. And then finally, I'm like, oh, there was only 11.
It goes to 11.
The first time,
tells us he thinks Jeff Isherwood took over art on Swords.
Well, if it's Tom Salkin, Tom knows what he's talking about.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
Swords of the Swashbucklers just reminded me of another good cross-gen series, Meridian, which was the one that was aimed at women, I guess, because it starred a woman. But it was a good series. I think Steve McNiven drew it, called Meridian, and it took place on this world where they had sailing ships that flew. I know of Past, Sojourn, and Ruse. Maybe one.
I think George Perez did a cover or was going to come on that book. There was a cross-gen supplemental to kind of, that you got with your comic news. And I remember George Perez was all over that.
Yeah, George Perez did, he did some cross-gen chronicles, and then he did his own book that I can't remember the name of, but I have it over there. And also Sojourn I liked too. That was the only Greg Land stuff I liked.
Yeah. Chris Cross-Gen Chronicles. As soon as you said that, it just, I remember that. Yeah.
Excuse me.
But,
man, we're going way back.
That was another good one. Steve Epting, really broke out with El Cazador. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember Steve Epting when he was in the Avengers. Of course, his style was completely dominated by having Tom Pomeranz. But it was from El Cazador that he developed that style that he had in Captain America, which was like it was a bit like Butch Guys evolving over there on Ruse, and he did the working there did the same to Epting. They both got this highly realistic style that still had lots of fluid movement.
Yeah.
I think it was the Winter Soldier trades that I picked up. And when I saw Steve Epting just freaking flying as an artist on that, I mean, there was like this little fuzzy warmth in you where you're like, you go, Steve. He was awesome on that. Oh, man.
I think it was Steve McNiven on Meridian and Steve Epting on El Cazador, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just confusing the two in my mind. And one of my favorite guys to come out of CrossGen, in my actual favorite book of CrossGen, was The Negation. And the artist who's gone on to draw a ton of Marvel stuff to no acclaim is Paul Pelletier. He's drawn a lot of Hulk stuff. He's just drawn a ton of stuff for Marvel since his cross-gen days, and good stuff too. But he's just never mentioned by anybody. It's amazing to me how he is so completely flown under the radar at Marvel for the last 15 years. But he's really good. He can draw pretty well and he tells a nice story. But he didn't. Negation was my favorite of the cross-gen books. And he drew that.
My apologies, but I got work. Give me a second. Sorry.
Okay, we'll give you a second. Right. But it's like amazing how, and though the guy who's been working the longest in comics to me, who never gets mentioned, is Brett Booth.
He's been around a while.
I don't think that Brett Booth as an identity as a penciler. He always seemed like he was there to take over whatever it was that Jim Lee was doing.
He drew Backlash for all through the 90s. He's been drawing comics since 1990 or something, and it's like nobody ever mentions him. He's been drawing for DC, I think, for the last decade, and he occasionally gets mentioned. Tommy Bagley says Paul Pelletier is the modern-day Paul Ryan, a solid workhorse who gets overlooked too often. Yeah, I actually like him better than Paul Ryan, but I know what you mean. I
prefer Paul Ryan.
I think another artist that gets overlooked a little too much is Kevin Nolan.
No, Kevin Nolan is an artist's artist kind of guy.
He is, but I still think he gets overlooked even by that crowd.
Because he doesn't have a large body of work.
Yeah, that's what it is. Most artists I know Kevin Nolan.
Right, they know them, but
didn't like him.
He never had that. He never had that one thing he did that was so good that everybody knows him, like Art Adams.
Yeah,
and Kevin Nolan doesn't have one.
You know, my favorite Art Adams stuff is actually I'm drawing a blank. Monkey Man and O'Brien.
Okay. Kevin Nolan is closer to Alan Weiss than he is to Art Adams.
Right.
As guys who are good but nobody knows. And who haven't done a ton of work. I think Alan Weiss did even less than Kevin Nolan.
I think it was Alan Weiss who did something that I was interested in reading once. What was it? Something the all-purpose power tool.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at that Steel Grip Starkey.
Yeah.
For some reason, that just caught my eye like 2 weeks ago because the covers on it were nice. And I remember
to read that because it's got the stupidest name ever, and I just have to read it.
Stupidest name. It was an epic comic, so it was 6 issues. And I was actually looking at it on eBay because I liked the covers so much. And I went, nah, I'm not wasting money on Steel Grip Starkey right now. Maybe in the future.
Here's a question. I want to see if any of you agree with me because I can think of 2 examples that epitomize this. What artist would you say had the biggest impact on comics but had the smallest bodies of work?
Jim Steranko's an obvious one.
That's the first one I would pick, yes.
Michael Golden would be up there.
Yeah, I can see that.
David Mazzucchelli?
David Mazzucchelli, yep, definitely.
Okay.
I might put him above Golden right now because Golden's done more work over the years, but and it took 15 years for all the Mazzucchelli clones to come out.
Right.
Now there are so many Mazzucchelli clones at Image, it's amazing.
Yeah. My second pick would be Dave Stevens.
I don't think Dave Stevens influence. Dave Stevens is liked by a lot of people, but how many people copy him?
Right.
There's a few.
Just a couple, maybe, not that many. All of the Image guys were influenced by Michael Golden.
I wish some of them would have been a little more influenced by him.
That whole generation was influenced by Michael Golden.
Yeah, I remember there's a series of like 4 or 5 covers that Michael Golden did for Detective Comics sometime back in the 90s that were just fantastic. Just the covers alone were just like, damn, this is good work.
Yeah, there was that legendary issue of G.I. Joe, which I was not a G.I. Joe fan, but I only ever heard tell of. People would, and actually I have the artist edition portfolio of it now. My friend gave it to me, but there's one really famous issue of G.I. Joe that Michael Golden drew, some like annual number 2 or something like that.
I don't remember.
That that's where every G.I. Joe fan, who there were a lot of them, discovered Michael Golden.
Right.
You talking about the yearbook?
That's it. We Scott just posed the question of most influential comic artists with the smallest body of work.
Right.
And Steranko, of course, came up first, and then Michael Golden, Mazzucchelli, and who was the 4th one you said, Scott?
Dave Stevens.
Dave Stevens. And I was saying I don't put Dave Stevens in that same category because I don't think there's a lot of people who copy Dave Stevens.
I think there may be more people that copy his storytelling more so than his artwork.
Dave Stevens was the first one to bring in cult figures, I think, in my opinion, like Betty Page. And that's, I mean, I'd have to think about it to have a coherent thought to even know if I'm talking out of my butt or not. But Dave Stevens, I think, influenced people with inspiration if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's one of the artists too.
He's like the Ramones. If you were a Kiss fan, you bought a guitar and it collected dust. If you were a Ramones fan, you played a guitar and it got beat up. To me, Dave Stevens did that for artists.
But I don't think there's a Dave Stevens school of drawing.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Sandy Plunkett, maybe.
You're pulling a guy even more obscure than Dave Stevens.
I'm just saying.
I just wanted to read this comment because I saw my name. I thought of Tim Wednesday. Thor killed Galactus, and in the final pages, Thor had a vision of Thanos holding his hammer, a black gauntlet on the other hand, and an army of Marvel zombies behind him. All right. I have some comments, but I'll save them. I'll save them for later. Wow. That's wow, there's so much.
Pope Cerebus mentions the Marilyn Monroe Crossfire cover. I mentioned that because Sleepy Reader just got a bunch of Crossfires, and I'm like, that's the issue that's always going to be missing when you're looking for Crossfires,
right?
Because everyone buys that Crossfire number 4 or something with the Dave Stevens Marilyn Monroe on.
It's the same thing with the Johnny Quest comics. Is the one he did the cover with Jezebel Fade. That one's the hard one to find.
I'm going to have to disagree with Tommy on this one. Joe Madureira does not have a small body of work because he was on Uncanny X-Men for about 4 years.
Was it that long? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think Joe Madureira was ever an Art Adams clone. He started adding manga elements at the very beginning.
The manga elements that he's seeing in Joe Madureira, if he took them from Art Adams already had them. They're just
he was Joe Madureira was a manga fan. He took them right from
but Art Adams has a certain way of drawing people that is not exactly Western.
Right.
I think Art Adams' style. I think Art Adams' style was so unique because I really think he actually was a self-taught, completely self-taught artist.
You know what I find interesting about Art Adams? I think he would probably be an artist who influenced a whole bunch of people. But then his style got so complex and labor intensive that he doesn't influence anyone now. Because if you look at Art Adams' work now, especially those covers and things he does, those are so complex and labor intensive that nobody's going to be copying that. I
almost want to look it up to screen share it, but he took like Fantastic Four, 101 or something, and it was just it was a bunch of Fantastic Four villains and characters, and you could he drew it to where he expanded around it, and he was talking about locking himself up in the room, and his wife was kind of keeping an eye on him, and he came out almost crazy when he made something so big and so complex. He finally went to his limit with that. And what's wild is if you go back and look at Wizard magazines, he would do a column in there about textures and how he did it.
I remember that. Yeah, that was good.
When you break his stuff down, it looks so simple. That's what gets me.
Right.
Well, you could
hard to do.
Well, you could also say that about Jeff Darrow's artwork. If you break down certain components of it, it looks simple.
Right.
But when you blow it up and compile it all, boy, it gets complicated.
Jeff Darrow's stuff, hard boiled. I tried to look at every detail on every panel.
And you have to wear glasses now.
One of my mantras is complexity is just simplicity multiplied. So that and when you look at Jeff Darrow's statement. Yeah, it's like everything in and of itself is simple, but he puts them together.
I just want to throw out Gore Vidal knows me. He really knows me. I mean, exactly, my comment was going to be pretty much right there. Yeah.
But to go back to Art Adams for a moment, you can, if you're a middle of the road artist, you can copy and be influenced by like 1989 Art Adams. But you can't copy and be influenced by 2020 Art Adams.
No. Art Adams doing the slice of life with his stuff. And then what's
I
he do?
you don't know how many places I read that you should do that. You should show them. But then every editor said, no, we don't want to see that.
No, there's something I'm not ashamed to admit, and I never will be. And I've taken it all, man. I've heard it all with this, what I'm about to say. Right. But Liam, the guy from Catch a Goo Goo who sang the Never Ending Story, the video. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get Long Shot. I thought it looked like him, and it turns out that's who he based it on. So,
and it's not it's Lamal from Kajagoogoo, okay?
Who? Lamal?
It's Lamal.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know that because I used to have hair that was 6 inches tall and spiked up. And people used to say I look like Lamal. This is the late 80s.
Yeah. So here comes Art Adams out of nowhere with Long Shot, and I'm sitting here like, it's that dude. And it turns out we were all right. That's what was so great about it. We were right,
But like that's the Art Adams you can copy. You can't copy today's Art Adams. Forget it.
No. And I'm so glad I met him, and I got a ton of books signed by him, but still having that ink on the cover of a book still bothers me. But I have,
I was just talking to a friend who was like, "What should I do about Art Adams?" Because he paid him for a commission 7 years ago that he hasn't seen.
Oh, my friend Gary paid Adam Hughes for commission like 20-some years ago, and he still hasn't seen it.
Woo. I'm looking up that Fantastic Four cover.
I may have the one you're thinking about.
You're too shy, hush, hush, I do I. Kajagoogoo. I like that song.
That's when Limal was in the band.
Yeah,
Limal was in the band when they were when they were relevant.
Did they last longer than that one album? I don't even know.
You know those bands that you find out 20 years later that they keep putting out albums and nobody bought them.
Yeah. What is it? Tommy Bailey said, "I've been checking out early Alan Davis, and I see a lot of Byrne. I never noticed that before." Yeah, Byrne influenced a lot of people, but he's done a ton of work, so he's not one of those guys who hasn't done much work and influenced people.
The Art Adams piece is so big that he did based off that Fantastic Four book where he expanded it. He's put the cover inside the picture, but nobody can get a screenshot of the entire thing. That's amazing. All right. But I'll go ahead and just kind of show this. I can't get it to go full page for some reason, but it's an amazing piece. It was really cool to see it.
He did some Walking Dead covers too, didn't he? I remember liking those.
Probably.
I don't know.
Anyway, there it is.
Oh, that's
half of it. Right here is the box that's the corner box from Old Marvel. So from there on over and then down is the original cover, and then he built all this around it. And apparently he locked himself up for a week or something to do this, to where when he came out, I think his wife supposedly said he was crazy. I don't know.
He was bleary-eyed.
He's like,
there.
Take that, George Perez.
Yeah, this is too much detail.
Is it gone? Is it gone now?
It's
yeah.
Gone. Okay. That reminded me one thing I've been meaning to do but haven't. You guys read, because I just saw they're coming out with a new printing of Promethea, Alan Moore, and oh my goodness, who's the artist?
J.H. Williams.
Yeah.
J.H. Williams, Promethea.
Right.
The last issue.
Oh, I know. 32.
They made it so that you could take the staples out,
right?
Take the comic apart, and it goes into one big image.
Yeah, but you can read it 3 or 4 different ways.
So I bought 2 copies of the last issue way back when it came out, just so I could take the staples out and put it together. Right. And I want to scan it in and put it all together one of these days. I've been meaning to do that.
Well,
just one big image so I can see it.
Well, when you do, I want a copy because I cannot find a second printing. I can't get a second one. I can't find one.
I may be wrong, but I get the feeling that's one of the things that you could never do with the digital version of that comic. It wouldn't have the same impact.
No. No, I mean, it's in your hands and you get to manipulate the image and play with it and do whatever you need to do with it. Cause it's mostly white and it looked like, I mean, all the pages are just white, but they're not like comic book panels. It looked like it's colors and word balloons or something. I don't know.
Gotcha.
And yes, Friar Tuck is still doing art.
What's this say?
The one before, he said, yeah, he asked if I was still doing art. Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I usually show my art, some of my art off in my weekly comic hauls. But this week I was working on a lot of digital stuff because I want to put out my web comic as a digital book where I have to figure out where I'm going to distribute it through. But I was just so happy with myself. Yeah, Promethea 32. That's because some of us bought 2 copies of it, one to tear apart. But it's like I just figured out because my comic strip is comic strip size, so it reads 4 panels across. And I've been doing it for 10 years, so I've got about 2,700 of them done.
Is that all?
So years ago, just 2,700 of them.
Wow.
So years ago, I figured out, I wrote a Photoshop action so now with a button press, it'll take the horizontal strip and make it 2 above and 2 below. So now it's formatted for a tablet. I'm so happy I figured that out like 5 years ago. I'm finally doing it now. It's like it takes like 2 hours to figure out how to write that script to do it. We're not really writing a script. You're having it follow along behind you. So I have that all saved in Photoshop. And then just this week, I wanted to put it all in an InDesign document because InDesign is what you build publications in. Magazines and comic books are all put together in InDesign. That's the publishing document. That's the document that you use for publishing. But that meant I had to have 1,000 InDesign pages and bring the artwork into I had to each individually bring the artwork into 1,000 pages. And I was like, oh, this is going to take me all week. I'm like, there's got to be an automated way to do this. So I went online, started looking up because there's tons of InDesign and stuff forums. And I found buried in InDesign, there's an area where you can run scripts. And somebody wrote a script to do just this thing. So it's like I gathered the 1,000 comic strips in one computer folder and told it to run the script on it, and it put them all in there. Dude, all of a sudden I had 1,000 pages done. I was like, ooh.
I just saved a week's worth of work.
I just turned 40 hours of work into 3 hours of work. That's really cool. Yeah. So now I have the first PDF ready to go, and I just have to figure out about, like, I think there's a place called I was like, I could post it on Etsy because I have it on Etsy, and I'm just going to make it a pay whatever you want thing. I don't care. It's not going to make me money anyway. But there's also a place like Gumroad, I think, that does stuff like that. I may as well just post it everywhere I can. But so once I get it posted, I'll let you guys know and you can go and get it. But I have the first 1,000 done, and I was just working. You know, it was funny I worked on this. I also discovered in Photoshop, these are all done in Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator is what I do my strip in. In order to run the Photoshop action on it, I have to convert it over to Photoshop. So usually what you have to do is you have to kind of do it individually. You have to you have to rasterize it, drop it on the Photoshop icon. It opens up. You just hit OK. And what I do when I do that is I drop a bunch of them on the icon, and I put a Zippo lighter on the return key. And like that holds down the return. Zippo lighters are great for holding down the return key on a keyboard. But then I discovered, buried deep in Photoshop, another automated feature that opens them all up itself. And I was like, ooh, I just turned 4 hours worth of work into, I can walk away and let it do it itself.
Right.
I had to learn InDesign and QuarkPress from my printing class 15 years ago. Yeah, that's what I use all the time. So, but even though I've been using InDesign, I was using Quark in the 90s, and I've been using InDesign since it came out. Even though I've been using them for 25 years, there's still stuff in there I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I can remember journalism class in high school. We were still having to use rubber cement to paste
That's how
documents onto a grid. Yeah.
That's how we were doing it in Marvel in the early 90s before we went digital.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Yeah,
I don't.
in the newspaper, I used to go up when we had to when we had to add descriptions to the photos. I just go up to the page designers and scoot over so I can write directly on the page.
Right.
Well, guys, one of the last things I want to pop up because I'm getting hungry. I came straight in from work and hooked this up. But
can't have a sandwich on camera. You're one of those guys.
I've ate one time live on a show and got told that was like some great big huge no, man. They were
now they are.
Weren't you eating pasta?
If you get hungry, just eat. I mean, there's no stigma for that.
Everybody got on me on that one.
No,
yeah, you were eating something with a sauce, and that's the no. Have you ever stared at somebody eating pasta?
No,
just stared at them.
The no is you're
It's
making
disgusting.
everybody else hungry watching you eat whatever you're eating.
I've just found in life there are people who are self-conscious about eating. They don't like people watching, and I'm not. I'm just like, whatever. You want to watch? Go right ahead, knock yourself out. But no, there are videos now. ETA Nick does some of them, called mukbang videos, and it's just eating stuff on camera.
Mukbang videos.
The Japanese come up with some crazy stuff.
Wow.
That's where it usually came from, I think.
Yeah, there are versions of Kim whores that instead of showing their boobs, they eat.
Yeah.
Wow.
And people give them money.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I hope they're eating fruit.
I picked the wrong career.
Gorvidal remember it. Very incident.
Tim, if you do use a fork with pizza, you have to extend your pinky while you're doing it.
Well, I was eating with a fork because I was on screen. I was like, that way I'll get all over me and touching stuff.
Oh, God.
Look, we know there's only one proper way to eat pizza.
What is going on? Food
videos are fun, you see? Yeah. I told you.
Yeah, but if you're going to, there's only one proper way to eat pizza, and it's also the best way. If you're conscious about eating on YouTube, you roll up the slice from the center to the crust, and then you eat it.
Nice.
That's it.
It's a roll. Yeah.
But I want to point out, Gorvidal thinks ETA Nick is cooler than you, Tim. All because he eats on camera.
Also, you should eat Chinese egg rolls with your hand, not with a fork.
Gotcha. Understand.
Like a pastry.
I did have a friend that would eat his cookies with a fork, and it drove me nuts.
What?
The girl who ate a banana died last year. I don't know if you know. I forget her name was Cloverless. There was because I have made ASMR drawing videos in the past, and I watch ASMR videos sometimes. And there's this one girl. She was like 20 years old a few years ago. She somehow and she was actually not really making ASMR videos for her. She was just kind of goofing around. And she had one where the whole thing was just her eating a banana. And it went viral for some reason. It's like, you people don't have pornography on the internet. A 20-year-old girl eating banana gets you going? Okay, whatever. But anyway, that kind of made her famous. And she continued to make video. And there was all drama going on in her life because her parents were religious and didn't want her making videos and this and that. And then it was, I was like, oh, I haven't seen just this winter. I was like, oh, I haven't seen a video from her in a while. Let me check out what's going on. And she had died last fall from some sort of drug overdose. I was like, whoa.
They were feeding her habit.
Yeah, it's funny.
YouTube dies.
You brought up ASMR. I watched one video on that to see what it was about. And I got pissed off because I was listening to the thing and I couldn't hear what the guy was saying. I was like, you know what this video needs? This video needs Brian Blessed.
There's some adult. I watched one other night. I can't remember. It was some Adult Swim dude. It was really just him sitting there by a fireplace giving you facts around the world. And then he'd get real philosophical and you'd be floating around the earth with him. I could find it, but anyway, I forgot what I was going there. But I tried ASMR there once or twice, but I just felt it was real creepy when it'd be some old man sitting there whispering to me. You know, I'm like, man, what?
Well, as somebody who has ASMR before it was named, it's not something you try. It's a feeling that to me, it's always been the feeling of being interested in something.
The tingles.
Yeah, it makes sure when I'm interested in something, it can literally make my head tingle. Yeah. And there was never a name for it. I never knew other people didn't. To me, that's the feeling of being, it's like, do you guys feel nothing when you're interested in something? What's the difference between being interested in something and being bored by something then?
Well, I couldn't watch whatever the Adult Swim dude was that I watched. I think that video was 2 years old. I really got interested in what he was saying. And it was like seriously, it was like a 13-hour video is what it's supposed to be.
That's what there used to be like for me, it was always before there was around ASMR, watching somebody who was expert at something, do that something or explain it. I always found fascinating.
I agree.
That's what ASMR is. I used to watch this guy on this is like in the early 2000s, which again, before ASMR was named and there was YouTube and everything. And I used to watch this guy sometimes. He was like on a local cable channel. And he used to come on. He was like a hairdresser. And he used to come on and tell you all about hairdressing. Like some people say they know hair straightening and all they know is the Japanese hair. And he'd go on for half an hour about his expertise in hairdressing. And I'd be fascinated by it. What do you got there?
Joe Pira talks to you sleep for 10 hours. And it was fantastic. I liked it. I mean, it's just real laid back and he'll talk. And anyway, getting back to comics, guys.
That reminds me, actually, there was a video that was done back in the 80s. I think it's called The Masters of Comic Art or something like that. Harlan Ellison was the host, and he did the interstitial pieces.
As soon as I said back to comics, we got 2 more viewers.
But when they got to Steve Ditko talking about Mr. A and waxing philosophical, that didn't take 10 hours to put me to sleep. It took about 2 minutes because my eyes just glazed over, and I was like, this is the most boring thing I have listened to in my entire life.
Well, I tell you what,
that's what confuses me about, some people watch ASMR to fall asleep. It makes me alert and awake.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because there's creepy guys whispering in your voice, or there's some girl waving a brush in your face, and you're like, do that.
Harlan Ellison, you mentioning Harlan Ellison just reminded me. I was just about to do a video on these cards that I forgot about. These are like chromium golden age cover cards I only got because I was watching Harlan Ellison used to have a YouTube channel, back when he was alive.
Well, he still does, yeah. But
are you talking about
you talking about the rant he did about those on Sci-Fi Buzz?
No, he just happened to mention these.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't rant on one of his videos that was like he had them or something. And I was like, he's like, at least something about in America, we embrace our comic book heritage. And these are just a whole bunch. And I found them on eBay and ordered them. It's like occasionally I buy cards, once every 3 years I buy a set of cards. And this was that year's set. So I was going to do a video on them, just showing off all the Golden Age comic covers.
Right.
Because they're real cool.
Yeah, he did another video essay about how hard it was to complete some of those sets and how the companies set it up, and he got all pissed off.
Like I said, I just went on eBay and got these for,
all right.
a few.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you go back and revisit an old comic or something that you thought you read. The first miniseries of this is it's got stains on it from me not eating pizza with a fork. Right. Stuff like that.
I remember dying at his Ace the Bat Hound bit.
Right. So I go through this, and you said Ditko. That's what made me think about this. There was a gag in here either I didn't get at the time when I bought this in the 80s. This isn't the original one, but or I just didn't know. But Ambush Bug dresses up like Mr. A.
Yeah.
Steve,
Wasn't it the
I saw that and I about died. It's just a panel, and I'm like,
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall long before Deadpool ever thought of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Was it Ambush? Was
Huh?
it Ambush Bug the first series that had him doing a Spider-Man parody with him going, "I must be 100 stories up here. I wonder what this line is attached to."
Yeah. Yeah, he knew he was in a comic book, and I don't bring it up to people unless they start talking and we start going down that well. But I'm like, you take away his swords, and he's Ambush Bug, and Ambush Bug was funnier, better.
Yes,
and it even talks about him knowing he's in a comic book in this. It serves the plot
right.
because there's a guy there, you never see them, but there's a guy, the interferer. He'll be looking at something and like a planet or a character, and he's like, I don't like it, and he revamps it on the spot. And Ambush Bug is the only one that can fight him because he knows he's in a comic book and he avoids it and stuff.
I wonder if Keith Giffen was influenced by that classic Daffy Duck cartoon.
How could he not be?
I swear, I think it was referenced in one of these ambush.
It may have been, but that's like the obvious thing I can think of.
Yeah, how could he not be? Everybody saw that cartoon in those days. What was that one from, Tommy?
Oh, I was just.
I put the old instructor. Nah, they always 30. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Here's what I used to go to sleep, but I watch the whole video and then I'm relaxed. Is these restoration videos where they'll take an old World War II lighter, or they'll take an old tool from the 1950s or 70s or whatever, and they walk you through it. It's nothing but pops and clicks and funny little stuff, how they clean it. And I feel like I have no skills in this world whatsoever, and I'm a big loser. Then I can go to sleep.
There's a genre of ASMR videos called unintentional ASMR.
Oh yes, those are hilarious.
Which is mostly stuff like I said. I always found it interesting to watch people who had an expertise tell me about that expertise. That's what always triggered my ASMR. Long before anybody coined the term.
It's also interesting to watch that. Like Adam Savage is a very good example of that, where he's such an expert in so many different things. You get interested, but also just seeing the sheer joy that he gets from some of the thing he does. Exactly. It's infectious.
Right.
I used to use this Frank Miller's The Spirit movie to go to sleep too, because I took a good nap in the theater when that hit. I mean, I was
the first.
Did you have nightmares and you can't? And when you woke back up, it was still at the same place. So, oh God, I'm stuck in this movie. I can't get out.
I know I was out for at least 20 minutes, but you should have seen me. I was relaxed. I was just spread out on like 8 seats.
There's an Ambush Bug showcase collection.
Yes.
Yeah, Ambush Bug,
and it's actually pricey now to come.
I didn't know there was that many. There was enough Ambush Bugs for a showcase.
Yeah, there's a few.
Okay, he was in Action Comics for a while. DC Comics Presents number 52. He was a murderer. He was a bit more of a different character.
I remember reading the first Ambush Bug stories, and he was a frustrating character to Superman.
Yeah, he was.
His power was he could escape, basically.
Yeah. I have them, but the way I remember reading them when I was like 13 is Superman would have been Bugs Bunny and Ambush Bug was Daft, or other way around,
Right.
The straight. And then he got the mini series, but his funniest story is DC Comics Presents, where it's Superman and the Legion of Substitute Heroes, and Ambush Bug gets caught in Superman's cape when he's going to the future, and he's got a couple pages where he's trying to figure out where he is. He doesn't realize he's in the future yet, and then it's hilarious.
Tim, you remember the Watchmen role-playing game modules, right?
I can whip them out anytime you want, Scott.
There is also an Ambush Bug module that I have. It's called Don't Ask.
Excuse me while
yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, it exists. It sure does.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like this big super fan of Ambush Bug, but I'm just like every time Daredevil,
I love Ambush Bug.
Yeah,
he's a fun character.
Yeah, he's great. Whenever Deadpool gets brought up, I'm like, oh my God.
You know what? Ambush Bug reminds me. This is a weird analogy, but I'm going to make it of Alan Rickman's character in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He was in a different movie than all the other characters were in its own pocket universe, and it's better than the real movie was.
I don't think I've watched that movie in 30 years. I'm going to go back. And,
Nobody
It's
has.
been replaying this year here. I have to rewatch that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to rewatch that and pay attention to what Alan Rickman is doing.
And cancel Christmas.
And cancel Christmas. But cousin, why not an axe? Because a spoon is dull, you twit, and it will hurt more.
It's like he was just so madcap and off the wall, and the rest of the movie is all kind of serious and straight. And here he is, riffing on stuff.
He's ambush bug. Okay, I can accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Alan Rickman on Robin Hood is more of his breakout than playing Hans Gruber.
Oh no, Hans Gruber was his breakout. We all love to hate Hans Gruber.
But I saw the Robin Hood movie before I saw Die Hard, so for me,
Well, that's because you're a young kid who didn't see Die Hard the first time around. Those of us who were around for Die Hard know.
I was around when it came out. I just wasn't interested in it.
You weren't interested in Die Hard, and I'm supposed to respect you?
Of course not. Bruce Willis was some guy from TV who wanted to watch that.
Yeah.
Die Hard's a classic.
It was the moonlighting guy. People at first didn't want to watch Die Hard because it was the moonlighting guy.
Everybody loved Moonlighting, except me. I never watched Moonlighting.
I used to know the theme song.
There's a Moonlighting theme song?
Yeah, it's sung by Al Jarreau.
That reminds me, I want to rewatch. What was that one that was a bomb for him?
Hudson Hawk.
Hudson Hawk, which I liked.
It's a great movie.
I've never seen it. But that's what I've heard. It doesn't.
Oh, it's really based on a Japanese cartoon, Lupin the Third.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had my friend Bunch, who's knows all sorts of pop culture stuff. He was a big Lupin the Third fan at the time, so he used to show us Lupin the Third Japanese cartoons, and we went to see that movie too. And even though it was universally panned for whatever reasons, we all loved it. And Bunch was like, "That's a live action Lupin the Third movie. I don't think I'd ever see that."
Yeah,
and it really is. Goodwill for $3.
See, that book goes for like $90 plus these days.
Yeah, Hudson Hawk is a solid. Have you guys ever seen any Lupin the Third movies?
No, I haven't.
Nope.
I've had an opportunity. I just couldn't do it.
I think I saw half an episode once.
It's about a thief, just like Hudson Hawk. So, Die Hard, Bruce's star.
I miss Moonlighting. I didn't get into I was in high school and Moonlighting came out.
Yeah, I never watched. I still this day haven't watched Moonlighting, but I was just making fun of Scott here for not being interested in Die Hard when it came out.
Not when it came out, no.
Man,
he knows Alan Rickman from Prince of Thieves. I don't know what's up with his brain. I can't accept that.
It's not Christmas until Alan Rickman has fallen off that building, my friend. I'm just saying.
But then he cancels Christmas, so how could he have fallen off?
No. First he cancels Christmas, then by falling off the tower, Christmas is uncanceled.
Oh yeah. God! So you've just tied Alan Rickman into the Newton Wald universe?
No, I think I just tied Alan Rickman. He was actually playing the sheriff in Robin Hood Man in Tights.
Right.
So, Moonlighting, there was an episode where Mr. Pesto finally went out on her own on a case, and this is what got me in, because I figured out these writers were just having fun. Anything could happen. It was a little bit meta. They kind of knew they were in a show every now and then. They would look at the camera and give you like a little wink and a nod sometimes. But they had Booger from the Revenge of the Nerds as her boyfriend.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So she's sitting here and she's in the middle of this case. She's in a mansion. It's all kind of like film noir a little bit, the way I remember it. Yeah. And all of a sudden there's a knock at the door and you think it's going to be Bruce Willis, and it's Booger dressed up like Humphrey Bogart with smoke around him. And I'm like, yes.
That's funny.
I don't know, any more moonlighting talk and our viewers might leave.
I don't know. You could do a parody comic book now and call it Moon Knighting.
My wife never saw the Rambos, right? She was 1 year old. No, she wasn't even born when the first one came out, or she was born. She watched the first two, and she's like a diehard fan of that and Sin City now.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the second Sin City movie.
Oh,
I think I have. I barely remember it.
I tell you what, I'll tell you the movie I want made. Okay, I want the real American Hero movie. I'm ready for it. You remember
Joe?
American Hero, that TV show?
Oh,
believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's not the exact title.
No, I can't remember what the title.
The Last Superhero.
The Last American Hero or something.
Last American Hero. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the revamp they did like in '86 or '7 where they put on a woman, and
I hope that was better than Galactica 1980 was.
Oh. I just remember being 7, 8 years old, and Galactica 1980 pissed me off. I mean, I remember that was probably one of the first times I got mad at something on TV.
I liked Galactica 1980 better than Battlestar Galactica. Not that it was any good. Battlestar Galactica was as boring as get-go.
Well, if you watch the pilot episode of Battlestar Galactica,
yeah, I did, and didn't watch it anymore.
You can watch it again as the Last Jedi. It's the same plot. All right. Anyway, moving on. I think I have it on VHS, the very first one. But there's something I found out today that I never knew. And I had a moment where I was like, how did I miss this, right? They've announced
the greatest American hero. There we go.
The greatest American hero. Awesome.
Yep.
Terry Long. He looks like Terry Long. That's Wonder Girl's husband. I thought Terry Long was made to look like George Perez back in the day. I never. But anyway, they announced, Sony has announced they're doing a Craven the Hunter movie, and I didn't click on the article, but I was like excited back. I hardly ever really get excited, but I'm like, I never thought that would happen. Craven the Hunter is possibly my favorite Spider-Man villain since I was a kid. Little did I know that a lot of people thought he was a joke until Craven's Last Hunt in the 80s. I didn't know people laughed at him and didn't like him. And I'm like, how? What is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
I think that's just because, 70s Spider-Man was so mediocre. 70s into the 80s Spider-Man. I mean, can you think of a Craven story that isn't Steve Ditko? What Craven story between Steve Ditko and Craven's Last Hunt?
Number 47 with John Romita and Stan Lee. Yeah,
exactly. I don't think there was much Craven the Hunter going on.
But I didn't know
when it wasn't that good.
I didn't know people thought he was a joke. He was on Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends. Even he got a spot on the.
I never watched that. So
he was no can crusher.
I'm actually trying to think of a good Craven story, and I can't.
When James DeMantis started looking for a Spider-Man villain to do his story, that
it was Batman story.
He got to take his Batman story that got rejected, turned to a Spider-Man story. He thought Craven the Hunter was a joke too until he found out that the guy was Russian. He was looking through the handbook of the Marvel Universe or something.
Mm-hmm.
All that he was Russian. Name some Russian character from literature or something, or historical figure, and all of a sudden the character clicked for him. All of a sudden,
I can't even think of any Craven appearances through most of the 70s and into the 80s.
It seems like he popped up in Daredevil, or maybe that's my imagination. I don't know.
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
We've talked at length before about how we came into Spider-Man in the late 70s stuff, right? So I had all the Craven stories right there. You know what I mean? They weren't spread out for me waiting.
I had them in the Ditko issues. I remember reading them in my little Marvel pocket books. Yeah. But when I think of 70s Spider-Man, I think of Doc Ock, Hammerhead, the Green Goblin, the Jackal.
Yeah, but what I liked is Craven was hunting Spider-Man. He wasn't committing some crime, and Spider-Man was on the run. That's what got me. You didn't see a lot of heroes where somebody was coming after him and they were on the run. That's what I like about him, Oh, here we go. Kazar series. I had the Kazar series.
Okay. I had that. I read that too. I still have some. Yeah, I didn't. But everything in the Kazar series was a joke.
I always thought that Bruce Jones was a very
Creatures on the Loose.
That's the word I'm looking for. An underrated author.
Who was Bruce Jones?
Yeah.
Well, he was indie for so long, and then when he got on Hulk there in the late '90s, early 2000s, whatever it was, he popped. And a lot of people thought he was a brand new writer. I actually have a sketch he did of the Hulk based on a Kirby sketch.
Right.
I met he and his wife was the one sitting there letting everybody know they came up to that table how long he's been around.
Yeah. I remember really enjoying that Kazar book in the early 80s. I haven't read it since then. Brent Anderson was drawing it, right?
I've had the complete series. I love Brent's stuff because he's the Astro City guy in my eyes. That's where he,
I bought all those Kazars off the stand, so I know him from there first.
I think it was around 2014. I got the full set for free, more or less.
Yeah, they're not expensive.
I can't believe I haven't gotten around to reading them yet.
They were good. They were very self-aware. That's when Kazar stopped being a sort of jungle man. Oh, Tiger and Marvel Chill. Yeah, he wasn't in Spider-Man.
That's what I was getting at. It seems like he was in. I swear I remember a Daredevil story with Craven, but I'm not.
Okay. I found the story, which I'm pretty sure is the first Craven story I read. Spectacular Spider-Man number 65. He and Calypso are hunting Spider-Man. They fire they shoot him up with an hallucinogen. And when Craven fails to capture Spider-Man, Calypso tries to kill him from a distance while he's down. But then Craven leaps in front of the spear to grab it because he will not allow Spider-Man to be defeated by treason.
Honor. There's a code of honor. Yeah.
And that one issue. I think that's the one issue where from which they base the animated series from the 90s Craven. Because then it's not completely villainous.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's Craven was the guy that was like that whole thing they do where they're like, you're in the woods and your enemies before you. Do you go after the hurt animal or do you go after the strong animal? Because you're defined by who you take down. That code of honor with Craven, it just felt like it was there with him. That's why he went after Spider-Man. I'm hunting the big game, not some little street thug. And I never heard this about Bruce Jones, but I totally get why people would think this. They thought Bruce Jones was a pseudonym on Hulk, Bruce Banner and Rick Jones. I can totally see how people got that.
Oh, Summerhead. Yeah, that's good. That's more Brent Anderson.
Wow.
I think.
Oh, wow. That just took me back. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought those off the stand. I remember the last issue took a long time to come out. Of Somerset Holmes.
Are you serious?
Yes. He's like Crocodile Dundee and Steve Irwin mixed into one.
I think he just broke his webcam.
He had to leave because he couldn't take it.
He's like, crikey.
Yes, it's embarrassing.
Has anyone here read the Bruce Jones and Brent Anderson Kazars from the early 80s?
No, I haven't.
Check them out sometime.
I love those. They were back up in Spider-Man. They were amazing.
They were because that was the first time when Kazar became a real human being. Before then, he was this me Tarzan, you Jane character.
Right.
But in that book, he was a sophisticated human being, kind of, and he always referred to his days playing Tarzan. That was kind of an act he went into. And I think Shanna the She-Devil.
Because the first thing they do in the Savage Land is make it bigger. They introduce Pangea,
Yeah.
which is even bigger than the Savage Land, and they have a whole lot more. A lot more different peoples, and it kind of becomes like Tarzan's Jungle and Pellucidar rolled into one.
I think the only Savage Land stuff I ever read was the story that Walt Simonson did with Mike Mignola.
The one where Green going back to get his lighter, and there's a tribe worshiping his lighter because it makes fire or something.
I'll tell you what, over the years, boy, there sure had been a lot of Tarzan analogs in comics.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but the Khazar series was like two sophisticated urbanites living in the savage land kind of thing.
And then aesthetically,
that's Green Acres.
Well, it's aesthetically the book. I think it was like a direct only book. To tell you the truth,
yeah, direct only, one of the first like that.
Every issue looks like it's got a few extra pages, and every issue has a wraparound cover. I remember seeing the one with Velasco on the cover. Might be his first appearance or something.
Yeah.
I've not read the series, but I've sat there and studied the covers. They're just beautiful. They're beautiful.
Read the series. I should read. I don't think I've read them since the 80s. I should reread those.
What?
Ron Friend's first work was in 80s Khazar? Okay, yeah. I think Brent Anderson left at some point, and someone else took over because I remember
the X-Men graphic novel.
Oh yeah, God Loves, Man Kills, right. I remember being disappointed not all the issues were by Brent Anderson as it was coming out.
Yeah.
But I don't remember who did it or why.
I want to say he's always had a thing about he had to think something going on with deadlines there for a while, and swiping Neil Adams hurt him or something, supposedly. It's like I know little Brent Anderson stories. I just don't know what's true and how they fail. But I think he got busted or something for supposedly swiping Neil Adams. Allegedly, I don't know.
Could be.
I don't care. He's an accomplishment.
Everybody was swiping Neil Adams in those days.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to smile for your green anchors. Green Acres.
Acres is the place to be.
Man.
Farm living is the place for me.
What I find interesting about the speculation again over this Khazar movie, or not Khazar, Craven the Hunter movie that's been announced, as I sort of started looking on eBay a little bit, and then I went to Comic Book Realm to see the actual ones. The only book that was actually going up in value was the one where he shot himself. Now, what I don't get is Web of Spider-Man number 32. I'm assuming that's where he shot himself. I have those books. But what gets me is that they're starting a franchise, or they're adding this to their Spider-Man franchise, and everybody wants the one where he dies. They're not going to kill him in his own book. I'm like, of all key books to get to go up,
Well, if you want some cheap books on eBay, Paolo and I can recommend Steel Grip Starkey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you were here when we were mentioning that earlier.
No, he wasn't.
No, but I remember the ads. I'm like, oh, okay.
For some reason, I was just looking them up on eBay because for some reason I saw one of the covers to them that was really good. I'm like, oh, let me see the other covers, and they're like, I didn't get them, but they're like really cheap on eBay. And then Paolo mentioned them earlier, just like totally on his own, and I was like, holy cow!
Oh crap! See, now I'm thinking about those ads. That one, and then you had Lords of the Ultra Realm, and then you had this one where it was so bad it was some dude with blonde hair, leather jacket, and he had a pink guitar or something, and he's doing that.
Ah.
Now I'm gonna have to track that down.
Why does Lords of the Ultra Realm stick in the back of my brain?
Doug Munch and Pat Broderick. I mean, there's got to be something there to it.
Was Void Indigo the guy with the long hair and guitar? It may have been.
I don't know.
Wait, wasn't there a guy called Slash
Maraud?
Yeah.
Well,
I wonder if that was it. I wonder if that was it.
That was Galassi, at least on covers, right?
I think so.
Now, I actually commented on something. I've got some Facebook group. I don't remember what it is off of my head, but they posted the Joe Kubert. No, I think it was Instagram. And they posted the Joe Kubert first issue of DC Tarzan.
Right.
And the guy who posted it did a little thing that said at one point Tarzan was selling more than Superman at some point in history. I never knew that. I mean,
I'm not surprised.
Mika guy who played the villain in Daredevil. What was that?
Yeah, Micah Sin. Micah Sin was the main bad guy during the Danny O'Neill run, just before Mazzucchelli took over the art. Then Mazzucchelli drew the final 3 or 4 issues where he appeared.
Tarzan.
The thing is, Micah Sin was bloodthirsty, but he was cunning, but of course he had no knowledge of civilization, so they kind of played up the Jungle Man too much. In the end, he went to war with the Kingpin, and that's what made...
Oh my God. Okay.
I bailed on Daredevil soon after Frank Miller did, and then didn't pick it up again until Miller and Mazzucchelli were on.
Well, guys, I looked up /Marad. That's not the ad that's in my head, but I made another discovery. This blew my mind. Do you guys know Garth Ennis's Hitman?
Yeah.
I know of it.
Well, that's him. And this is from the 80s and /Marad. Green jacket, red scarf, glasses, the gun. Holy crap. The last 10 minutes have been too emotional for me.
Tell you what, that green life is life. That pink, man, is like, ouch.
Holy crap. I'm going to find that tomorrow at the con. I'm buying this just so I can hold up Hitman and /Marad here. Holy crap.
I can't remember if I bought that or not.
It kind of brings up, there's certain ads that took place back then that still kind of stick in my brain for no real reason. There was an ad for, was it St. Zero or St. George?
The guy in his
for whatever reason, it sticks in my mind, and I don't know why.
St. George was from the what was the name of that thing?
The offshoot.
Tat.
Was it Zero Brand?
Oh, hey.
Did you read?
Still agree. Did anybody actually ever buy Steel Grip Starkey? I don't know. I never did.
I never even saw it on the stand, but I do want to say, ever since we brought up what Bendis did to Craven in the Ultimate Spider-Man book, it's been all downhill for me. I can't take it anymore, guys.
He doesn't want to know that the Hitman was a ripoff of /Marad.
Oh, don't let okay.
This whole world is crashing.
You live long enough, you figure out where everything came from.
That's crazy.
I can't remember if Paul Galassi drew /Marad or just the covers, because if he drew it, I think I bought it, but I can't.
I've got the. Let me look up what it says here.
I remember
it says this is Cyberpunk too, so I don't know. Yeah. But it's /Marad by Paul Galassi. What I'm looking at, everything's by Paul.
I must have bought it then, but I don't remember it.
Did Paul Galassi draw Saber?
I think he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just remember looking at that ad, like that's Jimi Hendrix crossed with Clint Eastwood.
Paul Galassi drew Saber, wasn't that
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. I thought it was McGregor and the
Don
issues I got, I think, weren't
Don McGregor and Paul Galassi.
Okay.
It was Galassi?
Yeah.
I remember someone else, or maybe Galassi drew the first stuff. But I remember someone else on it. I can't remember.
He definitely did the graphic novel. The ongoing series was years later.
Yeah. I remember the series.
I just remember seeing that ad, like, it's Jimi Hendrix.
Well, now that I'm seeing this, the first cover says first issue. I've never seen anything past that number 1. I thought it was a one-shot. I didn't know it went on. Wow.
I think there were 14 issues. That's the number in my head. But it was years after, because when Saber was published, Eclipse Comics was not publishing comics regularly. So it was just that graphic novel at first.
Getting back to Void Indigo, since I never actually read it, what was the big controversy on that?
There was a Void Indigo controversy? I can't remember.
Been some big controversy that surrounded that book, but I can't remember what it was.
Saber, there was a controversy because there was childbirth in it.
Okay, gotcha.
That he drew. Mm-hmm. He drew graphically. I remember that.
Gotcha.
In the series itself.
Yeah.
Void Indigo, I don't remember a controversy.
I just seem to remember reading about there was some kind of controversy, but I
I
can't.
think they had sex in the series, and they didn't want to publish a comic with the Marvel brand that had actual sex.
Could be.
Was that Val Mayerick drawing Void Indigo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember there's a controversy with I think a story that was originally slated for Epic Illustrated that Charles Vess did, and it was they just talked about female menstruation, and it was like no, we can't be talking about that. And it created
Alan Moore in Swamp Thing made that acceptable. Just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Until Jesus shows up, and then they have a fit.
Yeah. Alan Moore made the live birth in. Well, I saw Neil Adams do it in Epic Illustrated.
That was many years later.
No, the other way around. Alan Moore. What it is that Neil Adams.
Number 9 came after.
Oh yeah,
Saber, number whatever.
Okay. Yeah, there's an issue of Epic Illustrated where Neil Adams, I think it was Epic Illustrated or Echoes of Future Past. I don't know what it was. But anyway, Neil Adams drew a woman giving birth to the earth, and it was graphic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In Saber, she was giving birth to a baby, so.
Man,
it was great.
Paulo. Somebody asked what your YouTube name was. It is Paulo Costa. Yeah.
If you give birth to the earth, that's going to be one hell of an umbilical cord.
The Meridian Straight. That's all. No, I'm sorry.
Ruse. I want to read Ruse now. I think I read the whole series probably 10 years ago, just like Savage Dragon. I don't have to keep track of when I read stuff because I always go, I think I just read this, and it turns out to be 10 years ago.
Or more, yes.
Or more.
I know for a fact there are books that I bought at Heroes Con 10 years ago that I still haven't got around to reading.
There's some books on my shelf like that, but.
Yeah, here's what happened with me collecting Gru. The Image books and the Dark Horse books just merged with the Epic books.
Yeah.
Did it stop? There we go. All right, guys. It is 8:22, and I can keep going if you guys want to go. Apparently,
I'm running out of energy, so
I've gone so long without eating, and I think my stomach just closed up. I'm good.
Get something to eat. You know, don't be conscious about eating. You know?
I'm not being conscious. I'm just like.
I've
never gone long enough. We can call it a night.
I've never understood the stigma about. There seems to be a stigma for somebody that will go out to a restaurant by themselves. I have never understood that. It's like if you're hungry, go eat.
Well, you've never understood the stigma of not being interested in Die Hard too, but now you will. I'll keep bringing it up.
There are better movies than Die Hard. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not the best movie ever.
I didn't say it was the best movie ever. I said when it came out, you weren't interested in it. And, that's weird.
There were a lot of things that I mentioned now that I learned when they first came out.
I'm wondering what kind of fella you are who doesn't get into Die Hard. That's like the most influential action movie of the last. I don't know, what year did it come out? 88.
I'm not really sure.
I'm not either.
I did watch Conan when it first came out, though.
Yeah, it's a comic book movie, and that wasn't the most influential action movie of the last 30 years.
Oh, there's an interesting topic. The most influential action movie.
Die Hard. It's not that interesting a topic.
I don't know about that. I'd have to.
Yeah.
Great. You guys are starting to get like a little. Yeah.
You may not know about that. That's why it's so weird that you don't know about that.
Yeah. Service is having trouble finding my channel.
If you made a channel about Die Hard, you could find it easy.
If this chat lets you put a link in it, go for it, man.
I can't. I need to have a wrench.
I lost the comment. Right here. I have seen sketches by Sakai and Argonis with Gru and Jimbo together and stuff. I think they did it at Heroes Con too for something just for Heroes Con. But did Gru appear in the actual book? Oh, well, let me get the comment up. There we go.
Which book?
I don't remember. I've read all the issues of Usagi Yojimbo, and I've read 100 issues of Gru.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if there was a crossover. I think there was one recently, wasn't there?
Oh, I would. Oh boy, that's a bold statement.
Let's dance.
Let's not. Okay.
Hey,
Todd has obviously got too much California in him.
I actually had the haircut that Kevin Bacon had from Footloose. Just saying.
Are you proud of that, Tim?
So did Corey Haim and the guy for Mr. and the guitar player for Scandal. Yeah.
He's just saying the ladies loved it, and that's all he needed.
Boy,
that's the only reason I kept any kind of haircut.
Boy, there's a band I haven't heard of in a long time. Scandal with what's her name?
Patty Smythe.
Yeah.
Goodbye to you.
Yeah.
Shooting down
Yeah, I
the
remember
wall.
Patty Smythe. I remember Patty Smythe being on American Bandstand with Scandal, and she got in Dick Clark's face, and the guitar player got up and went, "Don't worry, Dick. That's just the New York in her." She went. Yeah, I was like,
do you know that at one time Van Halen wanted them to sing for them?
Patty Smythe.
Yep.
I think at one time they wanted anybody but David Lee Roth or Sammy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Goodbye to you.
Oh, that's on martial law in this comment. Sorry, guys.
Getting back to the Gru Usagi thing, I think there was one book. If I'm not I could be wrong. I may be mistaken, but like you saw Gru from behind in a crowd scene.
Could be. I'm trying to remember. I can't. I'll have to search it.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if this is what's going on here. No, that's from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, Footloose is the greatest movie is from Guardians of the Galaxy? It's not Tat? He was
No,
quoting.
Guardians of the Galaxy, they reference Kevin Bacon a lot in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And at the end of the first one, they defeat Ronan by having a dance-off.
That
as I was talking to Paolo before the show, I say the greatest movie of all time is Smokey and the Bandit.
Some bitch. You know,
because I don't want to watch Smokey and the. He was talking about how he was watching The Godfather, and I said, if you look at all these top 10 lists of what people think are the best movies of all time, they're all depressing.
Well, I want to throw in the 1970s Invasion of the Body Snatchers as one of the best movies ever made.
It's not bad.
And you see these top 10 lists, and I'm always like, I don't want to watch The Godfather right now. But if you ask me if I want Smokey and the Bandit, I'm down for Smokey and the Bandit. That's always fun.
See, I have a theory about Sheriff Buford T. Justice. I get the feeling he's just a very thinly veiled version of Shefford. I can't remember the Sheriff Pepper in the Bond movies. Would you agree with that?
Get me a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper.
Is that the Roger Moore movie? It's got all the voodoo. Is that what you're talking about?
It may be, but my favorite Justice quote is, "I'm going to barbecue your ass in molasses." And there's no way you could be the fruit of my loins.
Get in the car.
Oh man, I can't
now we're getting back to Tarzan again because that was Mike Henry.
Greatest movie of all time, Smokey and the Bandit.
If I had my way, we would ban it. We're talking about Bendis on this channel again because we've been all over the place now.
Wow, best movie of all time. Boy, that's a hard one. I'd have to.
No, it's not. It's Smokey and the Bandit. You
Star
don't need anything.
Wars: A New Hope.
I like Smokey and the Bandit, but I wouldn't rate it.
What movie would you rather watch on a sunny Saturday afternoon than Smokey and the Bandit?
King Kong.
Bore me to death. Why don't you? That's for taking a nap on a Sunday afternoon.
King Kong, the original.
The
man, no
with one red shoe. I'm throwing out the man with one red shoe.
Is that a Tom Hanks movie?
What, you weren't into it, but you were into Die Hard? No.
It's no Mazes and Monsters.
Mazes and Monsters. Oh my God.
Yeah. That was Tom Hanks' first movie.
Encino Man.
I remember that one.
Oh God.
I watched Mazes and Monsters when it ran on TV.
I have a strict no poly policy.
All right, I'm going to throw out a serious one. I'm not saying it's the greatest, but Chinatown.
I've never seen it.
It's okay.
Roman Polanski and Jack Nicholson gets a knife put up his nose, and the guy pulls. You know,
It's no Smokey and the Bandit.
Boy, that is a tough question. Wow.
No, it's not. It's easy. Smokey and the Bandit.
I got the snow.
Do you know what that movie did for Pontiac Trans Am sales?
Oh,
Gore Vidal has. It's over.
Nah, not Cannonball Run. It's nowhere near as fun as Smokey and the Bandit. What's good about Smokey and the Bandit is right in the theme song, it sums up the whole movie.
I got a long way to go and a short time to get there.
There's whiskey in Atlanta, and there's beer in Texarkana. And that's all you need to know.
but Cannonball Run was
ready
the
to
first
go.
place that most Americans ever saw Jackie Chan.
Cannonball Run 2 is better than Cannonball Run.
I was never a big a fan of Cannonball Run as everybody else was at the time, even.
You know what? I'm going with Blues Brothers. That did it. I'm done.
Nah.
Blues Brothers is better than Smokey and the Bandit.
No,
Not even
Smokey and the Bandit.
Not even close.
There's an X Factor annual or an X-Men annual or something where they're investigating Inferno, and the FBI detectives, the FBI guys are the Blues Brothers walking around investigating everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Blues Brothers is one of those safe comedies that everybody likes.
Safe.
You say you like the Blues Brothers, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, John Belushi. Oh yeah, Dan Aykroyd. Oh yeah," and it's not even them at their funniest. It's mediocre. John Belushi and
It's
Dan
got
Aykroyd.
great lines in it. They're underneath the bridge with the police hunt for him. He's like, "It's dark. We got sunglasses. I got a half pack of cigarettes. We got a half a tank of gas." And
I'm not saying there's not great lines in it. There are a few, but it's a safe choice.
Curl up
It's
and
a
die.
mediocre
It's just a
comedy.
background joke. You know,
It's not even edgy. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd.
don't be blaspheming in here.
Who's in Kelly's Heroes? I'm trying to figure out if I've seen this.
Everybody, Donald Sutherland, Telly Savalas,
That's-
that one.
That's one of those Deadly Dozen type movies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's
That's
really,
what I mean. There's so many of them like that had so many stars in them. They kind of merge in my head.
that's just some of the World War II movies, especially kind of in each other. But Kelly's Heroes is
I think Jim Brown is in them all, and they make him run through a minefield.
That's another really good movie that a lot of people don't really know about anymore. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yeah, somebody had that up.
You like that one?
Yeah, somebody had it in the comments, and I can go down to a dollar store and get it on DVD for $3.95 right now.
Animal House is twice the movie, 3 times the movie the Blues Brothers is,
That movie,
And it's still not as good as Smokey and the Bandit.
and it's still not as good as Smokey and the Bandit.
I was thinking about Animal House today. No joke, right? Because it was just kind of going through my head. And I realized that you reach a point in life where you're John Belushi, and then you end up growing up into the Dean. And it's when he looks at him and goes, "Dumb, fat, and stupid is no way to go through life, son." And I'm like, "Oh God, I've turned into the Dean," because he's wrong. You've grown up when you watch Animal House, and you're like those heathens.
When you're 18, you're Jeff Spicoli, and when you're 50 or older, you're Mr. Hand.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Something about they're going to be doing a table read of Fast Times in Ridgemont High.
Really?
Yeah, but he's not going to be Spicoli. Sean Penn's not doing Spicoli in it.
I think he should be Mr. Hand. Is he Mr. Hand?
That's what I think's going to happen. But
That would actually be kind of
So he
funny.
should be.
the entertainment, I don't know, Entertainment Tonight Weekly, whatever it is on YouTube, they have this was actually really good. They had a table reading for the 10th anniversary of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That was actually fun. It was really good. Just throwing that out there.
I couldn't make it through the first volume of that
Yeah,
graphic novel.
doesn't do anything for me.
The movie was excellent. I don't know what's wrong with you guys. The movie, Scott.
I didn't see the movie. I'm talking about the graphic novel. I couldn't make it through.
No, I
I
couldn't.
expected it to be good, and I couldn't make it through it. I was just like, "Holy cow!" This is awful.
It's really cool that somebody could take everything they had talent-wise, you get what I'm saying, and make it work where it reached a movie. So it's a great underdog success story, I think. But
Yeah.
I've tried to read 2 volumes of it that you get at Ollie's for like $2. Couldn't do it. Could not do it.
And I even like his latest one that he's not drawing, but he's writing, Snot Girl.
That's
even
the
like
same dude. That's the same guy.
Yeah, that's the Scott Pilgrim guy is writing it, but not drawing it.
Let's all have a moment of silence for Niedermeyer. And I'm so glad I didn't grow up to be Flounder. I'm just saying.
Or Sergeant Hulka, for that matter.
You know a movie that I loved when I was a kid, but I can't stand anymore?
What's
Ferris
that?
Bueller's Day Off.
Oh no!
I never liked that one. Only because I don't like high school movies without the cool kids.
I don't know.
And I don't like high school movies where the nerds are trying to please the cool kids. I hate that.
That's it. No more Bendis. No more Bendis on this show.
The best high school movie is Better Off Dead.
Better Off Dead is fantastic.
Yes.
Where's my $2?
Yeah.
However, I still like to watch Suburban Commando.
Is that Hulk Hogan? I've never seen that movie.
Yeah.
Never seen that movie.
I've never seen that one. You're on your own with that.
My friends decided to show me this movie that I never saw before the night before I went to basic training when I was 20. And so by the time basic training was over, I was disappointed.
I would agree. I used to agree with you about Full Metal Jacket. I think the back half of it has aged pretty well, though. I think the back half of it I like better than I used to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the first half of it was so intense.
Ted, the first 5 to 10 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, boy, that is really intense.
By the way, the best line in Stripes that I still remember is at the end where Bill Murray comes off the plane. He goes, a surprise party for me? I'll kill you guys. I
like the mock-ups they did in magazines and newspapers.
Oh yes, they were good too.
The Russians are a bunch of pussies. And then the Russian newspaper it says local boys repel Yankee horde.
Where's your drill sergeant? Blown up, sir. What have you guys been doing? Training. What kind of training?
Army training.
I enjoy Stripes. I'll put Stripes ahead of Blues Brothers too.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I love.
You couldn't have had Stripes without the Blues Brothers, sir. Sorry, I'm just saying.
That doesn't matter. All I'm saying is Blues Brothers isn't as good as everyone says. But I haven't seen it in 30 years, so maybe I should watch it.
I'd tell you a movie that's nowhere as good as anybody says is Space Jam. That movie, the only good part of that movie for me is Bill Murray.
He just mentioned Over the Top, so I have to do my Stallone impression.
Oh, no.
What I do is I flip the switch. So I turn my hat around, and that's like when I flip the switch, that's when I'm ready to go into it. That's the one thing I remember about Over the Top was him telling us how to flip the switch.
I got asked, is there a basic training movie that did work for me? Full Metal Jacket worked for me. It was the actual basic training I went to after I saw the movie that when basic training was over, I was kind of disappointed with what I just went through. I was like, that's it? That was it?
Gomer Pyle didn't shoot and kill anyone?
Well, I'll tell you what was really bad. The first night we actually got into our barracks for basic training, right outside the window, you could see the this old airplane hangar that was an auditorium now. and the Harlem Globetrotters were playing in there, and I could hear it.
Oh, that's
Gore Vidal has a Ferris Bueller thought. Let's see this one.
Oh, wait.
Up to. Ferris reminded me of the rich kids I went to school with who got away with everything in and out of school. There you go. That's why I don't like Ferris Bueller. Though they weren't rich kids with me, they were just kind of the cool kids. They were the ones who. That's why I'm all for the underdogs in high school. And like I said, what was that one that was Richard Linklater one that was about high school in the 70s? Dazed and Confused.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
I never liked Dazed and Confused because the nerds were working so hard to try and please because that's usually the story in movies is the nerds just want to be the cool kids, and they spend the whole movie trying to be the cool kids. And those movies I don't like.
I couldn't put my finger on why Dazed and Confused didn't click with me, but I've got this other movie. Stoned Age. It's Stoned Age is
one of my favorites. There we go.
Love it. That's the one I like. The Dazed and Confused. I finally figured it out. Ben Affleck and Matthew McConaughey's characters hit too close to home. Though I knew those guys. We knew those guys, and I didn't think
and you didn't like them.
No,
right?
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I wasn't
those guys. They were
those guys messed with me. They were getting in a fight.
Yeah, Dazed and Confused rang true. I was Sleepy Older's just a tad little older than me, so I'm sure he remembers.
It did ring true for a lot of people, but like I said, in high school, I never wanted to please the popular kids.
Oh no,
no interest in that. And actually, my high school was so big, those same kind of cliques didn't exist. So my high school experience wasn't quite. My high school had 3,000 students in it, suburban high school.
Yeah.
So there weren't the same cliques there were in. It's like there were people I didn't even know in my high school. There could be a clique of cool kids, and I was there for 4 years with them and didn't know them.
All right, completely opposite of that, Jared. How many grades did your high school have?
4.
Okay.
Junior, freshman through senior.
All right. So mine had 5, 8th grade through senior. We had 502 people.
Yeah.
You knew everybody, whether you wanted to or not.
Right. I think that is more the high school experience for people that you see in the movies.
My high school experience, it would be too hard to explain because I fit in nowhere. I wasn't redneck. You had rich and poor people because of the coal mines. The coal mining kids had all the money. Everybody else was poor. But anyway, the Bad News Bears based my whole childhood on those movies. Me and Kelly. I mean, I based the Fonzie, the Fonz, and Evel Knievel and Kelly from Bad News Bears. Based my whole life on that.
Were you still with Kelly when he was in Damnation Alley?
No, but he grew up to be Rorschach, and I'm like, he's back.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I did another, at least to me, an underrated comedy movie, Caveman.
Yeah, I have that also. That is fantastic.
I don't know that one.
Ringo Starr.
Barbara Bach.
Ringo Starr, Dennis Quaid. When you can't afford when you can't afford Han Solo, so you get Dennis Quaid.
All right, here's a trivia thing for you, Tim. Do you remember when Dennis Quaid is in the cave and he's urinating ice crystals?
Uh-huh.
The guy in the monster suit is Richard Mall.
Yeah, from Night Court.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Tim, you'll find a lot of fans of the Stoned Age in the early 90s Marvel bullpen.
Oh,
just to let you know.
My people. They are now my people. The Stoned Age has 2 scenes in it that really happened in high school to me. And I'm like, wow. Somebody's trying to kick in the door, so everybody runs into the kitchen and one guy lights the cigarette. I mean, like, I'm in that line. I'm not the guy smoking in that one, but I'm like, wow, that really happened. Yeah.
That was every time they took out the schnapps, they'd have that little ding. I just love that.
Schnapps, man, you know. Why don't you guys go back down to Orange County with the rest of the rednecks? You know, Stoned Age was so good. Then it had the big 2001 moment. You know, where the guy saw the laser.
They were playing was it? Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yeah, did you watch through the credits where Blue Oyster Cult really showed up?
Yes. Turn that off. That's a pussy song. Every band puts out a pussy song so they can tell who the pussies are.
I thought it was so sad in the most recent Godzilla movie. There's a version of Godzilla, but it's not the original Blue Oyster Cult version. It's a cover. I was like, man, why did you do that?
Because they couldn't afford the other recording.
There you go. Quit bringing us down. We're stoning out here with the Stone Age.
This was the anti-John Hughes movie, which is huge. It still has a big cult following. I love Heathers.
Heathers was the only movie I've ever seen where I actually liked Christian Slater.
That was the first, I think.
Other than that, I do not.
I'm sorry. Again, we have a difference of opinion here. Valley Girl was fantastic.
I don't even remember if I watched it or not.
It was Nick Cage's first movie, and it's hilarious.
Oh God! Have you ever seen a Nick Cage movie called Drive Angry?
No.
No.
Don't watch it. It's awful. Ugh. I can't agree with
Crow played on all throughout the 80s on cable.
Yeah.
Kroll does not
you couldn't escape
me at all. Yeah.
Now, a movie nobody's bringing up, but I remember because they played it all the time, was Johnny Dangerously. You guys remember this?
Oh, yeah.
You cork-sucking bastard.
I laughed and laughed and laughed when it was on.
Was a good one.
I got to watch it about 5 years ago again, and I'm like, oh, no, I hate that I grew up.
I don't think I've seen the whole movie. I think I've just seen parts of it.
Made him feel bad about himself. Monty Python.
Yeah.
Here's what's
I was just watching one of those videos of some young girl watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail for the first time. She found it really confusing.
Well, the great thing about Monty Python fans is, like comic book fans, when we find each other, we don't really talk. We just start quoting the movie. And that's all you have
to do. Yeah.
I mean, how many Tim the Sorcerer memes and jokes have you sent me, Scott? I know that you
a lot.
There was a period in from 1992 to 1995 where my friends and I could converse in nothing but Simpsons quotes. I mean, it was just like there were so many of them. We had watched them so many times in syndication.
I can do that.
It was just nothing but Simpsons quotes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gore Vidal. Valley Girls is awesome. You talk about a great time capsule with some social commentary. It's all in there. Yeah.
I'll have to check it out again because I don't remember it.
It's got Elizabeth Daly's boobs in it. That's what really made the movie hit back then.
I just remember Nicolas Cage may have been at his most hangdog in that one, or maybe it was just because we were introduced to the Nicolas Cage hangdog expression.
Yeah, he had dropped the Coppola from his first movie, which was we just talked about it. Sean Penn Spicoli.
Fast Times.
Yeah, Nick Cage was Nick Coppola in that. Valley Girls came out and became Nick Cage, inspired by Luke Cage, Power Man.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I'm wondering if we're on a delay because we're getting a lot of comments about movies we talked about a few minutes ago. So
the longer the stream goes on, the bigger the delay will be with the chat.
Awesome.
Now, is there a movie more quotable than Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Big Lebowski.
In the mid 90s when Marvel first digitized, and you could play sound bites on your computer.
Right.
Monty Python and Aliens were the movies with the most sound quotes. Holy Grail.
Game over.
Help repress. You have no idea. Maybe you ought to put her in charge.
Maybe it's just me, but it's funny because to me, the first Alien movie is so far and away better than any of the other ones. To me, it's not even funny.
The Aliens Extended Edition is the best one.
Yeah.
Game
over, man. Game over. Game over, man. It's like
game over, man.
We're all dead.
I have never been more disappointed.
Matter of fact, just yesterday, I wrote on someone's Facebook post, better nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
I have never been more disappointed in a movie than I was in Prometheus.
I had low expectations. I took it for what it was.
I've never watched an Aliens movie past Aliens Remastered, the extended edition. I've never seen Aliens 3 or any of the other ones.
They're horrible.
They're not that good.
That's what everybody said, so I've never bothered to watch them.
I have zero interest, and I've always had zero interest in the Alien and Predator franchises.
Well, the first Alien and Aliens are both good movies. Predator is a good movie. I remember Predator 2 being a good movie.
I think Predator 2 is better than the first one.
Yeah, I remember liking it, but I haven't seen any of them since then. I think I may have watched one of the Predators versus Aliens movies on cable one day, but I don't even remember it.
I'll never forget when I went and saw Freddy versus Jason when the thing to do was to mix, movies. I went on a Monday night in a small town, right? Little tiny theater. Monday night. Nobody's in there Monday night for the 9:00 show. That's why I went, because plus I was married and had a kid and everything. We lived right up the road from the mall. So I go in there, and then the theater is packed on a Monday night with people I don't know from this small town. I'm like, who are these people? So I take the first seat I can get into. And as the movie progresses, you automatically know what side you sat on, because when Freddy killed, that side of the theater, like there was a real invisible line with cheer. It was a party. Jason on my side kills. I'm a Freddy guy, but I went with the crowd. It was all fun. They would cheer. But then you knew you were in the redneck mountains when they were out in the cornfield and they had the moonshine and they threw it on Jason, lit it up, and it was an orange flame. I heard about 6 or 7 people going, shit, that shit's supposed to burn blue. Greatest movie experience ever.
I saw that movie and I went to a party at somebody. I think it was like a Halloween party once, and I remember watching this. It's like, you know what this is? This is professional wrestling.
Nah. I was never into the Freddy and Jason movies. So. Yeah, Predator had good. Ain't got time to bleed. Get to the chopper.
Do it now.
You are one ugly mother. Yeah.
The only other movie I can think of that might be as quotable as Monty Python and the Holy Grail is The Princess Bride.
See, I was never a Princess Bride fan because I read the book first.
Okay. I can.
It was the old case of, if you read the book first, you always like the book better.
Right.
So that was
it's never on here. I've never seen it.
Yeah. Caddyshack. Caddyshack was quotable for a while, but I can't think of one at all right now.
Other than Greasy Grimy Gopher Guts.
Yeah.
It's okay. It was just a baby Ruth.
All right.
There's a Caddyshack quote for you.
I will take Caddyshack over Smokey and the Bandit, sir.
I got to say, Smokey.
That is the ugliest hat. That is the ugliest outfit I've ever seen. Oh, but it looks good on you. Rodney Dangerfield had a lot of good lines.
Oh, there's
Leading the Cube. I remember that. That may have been the
Back to School was my favorite Rodney Dangerfield movie.
Oh,
none of them are better than Smokey and the Bandit, so y'all are wrong.
I don't know.
Forrest Gump has all the quotes. I have to agree. That and Pulp Fiction, those two movies from '94 set the stage for the decade.
Never Forrest Gump. Matter of fact, I never liked that. Life is like
a lot of quotes, but there's one phrase from Blazing Saddles that nobody ever quotes, and I think it's the best one ever, which is, "Baby, I am not from Havana."
Nah. My favorite quote from you is that, we nearly lost a $200 hand card.
My favorite's like, piss on you, I work for Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
It's Twoo. It's Twoo. Oh my God, it's Twoo.
Baby, you're sick.
Work. Hello, boys. You miss me?
I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor a harumph.
You watch your ass.
All right. It's
Mongo. Wait, I got
gotta
one
go.
more. Got one more. Mongo is nothing but a pawn in the game of life.
Yeah.
What is with that?
I just read that one somewhere today too. I can't remember where.
Well, guys,
It's funny. I don't even think that's his best movie.
I don't know how we did it, guys, but we lost like, I don't know, 9, 12, 11, 13 people all at once. That's amazing.
Yeah. Because all we were doing was quoting movies there for a while. We had no
Yeah.
thoughts.
Well,
Yeah.
All downhill after Bendis turned crocodile. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. See y'all next week.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.